Episode 2. Definitely the first take. I'm Dan, Goatman, the host. It's a pleasure to have you all with me today. And with me this evening, I have some friends who are about to introduce themselves for the first time. So,
Ever.
yes, so Ray.
Wait, who was I again? Oh yeah, I was Ray. Yeah, I'm Ray. I'll be joining Dan as one of the only two males on this podcast.
Oh, don't
tonight.
worry. I'll edit in the other part, so you don't have to say the same thing again.
Oh. No, I'll just say it again.
Okay.
We are the only two males on this podcast, and I hope you'll enjoy.
Yes. Okay. Ivy.
Hi, I'm Ivy, and what
Cool.
was my
And
line? And
don't worry about
here
it. We're
I am-
already way off script.
And here I am in the street, about to obliterate masculinity. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Annika.
Nice.
Hello, I'm Annika, and yeah, I'm here in the stream as a guest today, and I hope you all have fun.
Shaggy.
Yeah, I'm Shaggy. I also hate men.
Hating men is my only personality trait.
Oh, sorry, I stole it.
And Sarah, finally.
I feel intimidated.
Hello,
I know, right?
I'm Sarah, and I'm frequent guest, apparently.
Yes,
and,
indeed.
Well, hate men, also.
Yeah. Ray, we're
A
outnumbered.
dynamic trait. I see something in common.
To be fair,
This is
don't we
why
all
we're
hate
here.
men?
No,
I mean,
Well.
Let's
Alright then.
debate.
round one.
We may get to that, but actually, I thought we could just kind of talk for a bit, because some of us,
Oh,
we rarely have
Oh,
these
yeah.
group calls,
Yeah.
yeah.
and it would be nice to just kind of see how everyone's doing. So, everyone at once, I guess. How are you?
So,
Good.
Good? Okay, that's great. Oh, awesome. Even
How was
better.
your
She's
Easter,
one up
guys?
you. Pretty good.
Awesome.
celebrate Easter. That's kind of mean.
You don't celebrate Easter?
Middle East.
Include me.
She celebrates Middle East.
So how's your day instead?
I mean,
Oh,
Eastern
sorry.
Europe also didn't celebrate Easter. They celebrated next Sunday.
They
Because
celebrate.
they're Eastern
Oh,
Orthodox.
wait, who do?
yeah.
They
The
celebrated
Eastern
what?
Europe, because they're Eastern Orthodox.
Oh,
So they celebrated
like-
a week later.
Like me. You
oh,
know?
I never knew that. Interesting.
Yeah, and I decided, like, for the first time since forever, I decided to start fasting for the Holy Week because that was that was a cool thing to do in Greece, but in Sweden it's lame.
Wait, Ivy,
But
are
I
you
wanna be
religious?
lame. I mean, yeah, but I am religious. Like, I believe in God, but I'm just a really shitty person at practicing.
Oh, I mean, you're a really shitty person in
So-
general, to be fair, but I never knew that about you.
Yeah,
About
no,
8
I
days.
didn't know
I think we start like we start Ramadan, which is like a week, a month where we fast. Yeah, in about 8 days.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's not cool. It's
Wait,
not.
when does it start?
Yeah.
In 8 days,
8 days.
Oh.
I think.
Wow, nice.
But like,
Well-
I think Stanis it starts in 9 days because like there are 2 types of Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't think Sunny does it at all.
Yeah.
No, he does. He's
I think Stanis.
well,
Religious.
I'll defend his honor since he gave me his place in the stream. He's a religious person. He's a devout believer. I
Sure, not like me.
I personally, yeah, I feel like I have a respect for the presence of God. I feel like there must be like sort of presence, a God whatsoever.
Yeah,
I
but
haven't
it doesn't
done-
make him nice. I feel like he's an asshole either way.
Yeah, I think that most things that happen in the world are not his doing; it's ours. I think we've kind of mixed it up in the last years. I think that an interpretation of God, like an omnipresent caretaker, that's like unconditionally,
watching.
Yeah.
it like fits nice, but I don't know. It's too hard to put to words.
In theory, it sounds good, but in reality,
yeah, like I don't know.
I feel like if that's God's position or role. At this point, it's just because he's observed us long enough and he's decided, right, that lot, sack them off. They're a lost
Fuck them.
cause.
Let them
I'll
die.
move on to a different
Whoa,
planet.
language. Hold up, we're a family-friendly channel.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah, what if the bunny hears you?
one of the oh,
He doesn't exist then.
He's busy eating.
You have to grow up.
it's so
He's finished now.
distracting. Also, I feel like something we have kind of forgotten when talking about religion is that, you know, humans have free will. I don't know if any other religion says that. I'm pretty sure it does. But
The holy religions. Is that
Yeah.
what they're called? Yeah, they all believe in the same thing.
yeah, so I feel
Kinda.
like if for example what I know Christianity that says, oh, you have God gave them people free will. It means that, oh, the kids that are starving or something. It's not always just. It's God that's responsible. I feel like
So
our
are
shitty
they,
choices.
Are they starving
are-
by choice? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that it's a chain reaction. If some people made a shitty situation,
Yeah,
then
but why
other people get hurt.
do I have to suffer for other people's mistakes?
Because that's life. Because they affect you. Like
Well, but still. I
So
mean,
you're
isn't-
saying it's not
isn't-
God's
isn't life
like
supposed to be somewhat fair?
sorry.
you're saying it's not God's
Isn't life supposed to be?
Sorry, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, you go.
No, please, you go ahead.
I will go.
No.
Oh yeah, please go. No, no, please go ahead. Speak.
But like, it's not fair. Even I don't have to suffer for other people's mistakes because just because they made a mistake.
Yeah,
It still doesn't mean that he is fair.
it's
you know?
not fair. But so like
Yeah, but
so
like,
is politics. Like let's say
So politics
wait.
is human made. It's not supposed to be perfect.
I think,
That's-
well, Ivy, what you're
that's what
saying,
I'm
right,
trying to
is
say.
that like it's not God's choice for these bad things to happen. He gave humans free will, and then free will, they use that free will, or we use that free will to make decisions, which then
Yeah,
impacted.
I don't
Yeah.
think
So he doesn't have a
exactly, I don't
direct
think-
role.
Yeah, I don't think I have defined to what God intervenes in and what he doesn't. But I know for a fact that if you look at it, most things that are horrible in our world are consequences that come from history, politics, society. So I feel like we put ourselves in a horrible situation. It didn't
Yeah.
start like that.
That's because the mistakes we made have a lasting impact, and if you make a small mistake like one-on-one, you have a fight with the person for like a week, and then you make up. But,
Exactly.
But
like-
if you're an entire nation, then the mistakes you make as a nation have a very long-lasting impact on the
Like-
surroundings.
to make a smooth transition into racism, I feel like we're
I mean, we don't have to
We're
talk about racism.
We don't
yeah,
have to.
I
You
mean,
can
but
just
we
keep
still-
on talking about religion, because I have a question actually.
Oh.
yeah.
Because I don't know if this is correct, but I heard this that like
Let me do the example that I was gonna say, and you have and then it's all
The
yours.
floor.
Okay.
I was gonna say that, for example, colonialism era, we're still
Oh, my
seeing the
favorite.
effects of that today, and we're still seeing the effects of industries today, and we will see it in the future. It wasn't God that decided, you know what, black people, they shouldn't have rights. Boom.
Yeah. Because, well, those choices just define the trajectory that the world took, I guess.
Yeah,
You know?
I just feel like we put him in a position where he should save us. If he has such power, he should end everything. He should magically fix people and you liberate everybody and heal everybody. But that takes away from free will. That takes away from the concept because he erases the consequence, and thus we never learn.
Yeah. That's a good. That's.
Yeah, I
a
agree
great
with
point.
Ivy there. Like, I'm religious as well, and like, I feel like people are really quick to blame God for everything. And like, on the one hand, they say that like, if God is almighty, then he could just fix everything. But that will take like away the most important thing that I believe is something that humanity owns, like freedom to make their own choices. Like, assuming that God like does exist,
Mhm.
like he won't want people who just blindly do everything he wants, because
Yeah.
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 But also, another thing that Ivy said is that we wouldn't learn if that were the case, if he
Yeah,
intervened,
question.
and that makes sense as well because sorry, one second. Because the Bible is like the whole point of the Bible is to teach lessons, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, you
That's
know,
kind
it
of his
starts.
whole thing.
Yeah, it starts with a mortal mistake of quote unquote Adam and Eve falling out of heaven. So whoever made up the story, whoever made up Christianity, and whether it exists or not, knew that fundamentally humans are kind of wrong in
mean-
the things that they do.
Anyway, before we move on to anything else, Sarah,
Yeah.
what was the question you wanted to ask?
Okay, if how do I say this in a way that's not offensive?
Oh no.
Okay.
It's KGD&D.
Okay,
You
so
can say it in a way that's offensive.
I don't want to be offensive. It's not because it's not okay. I just don't want to be
Oh, fair enough
offensive.
then.
So, if you believe in God, right? I mean, I do too, but it's not.
Yeah,
You believe
me?
in the written, uh, the things
No,
that are
not
written in like the
No,
Bible,
I
and
not yeah.
but you identify as Christian.
Uh,
Yes.
I personally identify as Eastern Orthodox for the sake of culture. Like nothing ties me to that more than it ties me to Catholicism or whatever. I hold on to my Eastern Orthodox customs and learnings because I'm also far away from my, so it's preserving culture and giving me a unique thing for my identity. It's just a nostalgia thing. Some people have Pokemon, I have Jesus.
So, what about you, Annika?
Well, I'm Protestant with like a lot of different sub-religions you could call them, I guess. So
Yeah.
they don't like acknowledge the Pope as their religious leader, like Catholics do that. And like I don't take the scripture literally, like word by word. Like I absolutely believe in evolution and stuff like that. um, I just like feel like the central message of the Bible is like one that you should respect and tolerate all people, and I absolutely know that this is not always like brought into practice. But I think like this message of like being loved, no matter who you are, I think that's something really beautiful, and that's also like one of the main reasons why I believe that God exists and that God is good.
That's nice.
Interesting.
Um,
I won't talk more since
yeah,
like it will take a lot of time.
I mean, we
that's
have
what we're
plenty
here
of
for.
time. Yeah. We're not here to do anything else.
Well, the thing is, religious scriptures are the reason that these religions all exist, and the religious scriptures are all contradicting in a way. So when we assume that God is good and God is merciful, He would give us all equal chances. He would give us all the same
Okay.
field to play in. Not
First
the
of all,
same exact situations, not the same exact experiences. I get that we have to make do with what is there, but even if God does not control our choices, He knows about them. He knows what we'll make of them. He knows the consequences of that. Isn't
of-
being good or being helpful or being a merciful God is like kind of guiding you in a way that you won't fall into these mistakes. Don't
mhm.
get me started on the learning thing because like if God wanted to be good, He would make us learn everything by chance and He would not make us go through a lot of shit just to learn stuff. And then again, when we think about it, it's kind of not fair how even the choices we make, we're never really sure if we made them or He kind of paved the way for us to make them. So it's not
Yeah,
really, you can't say it's choice. It's not. It's,
yeah,
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 so
it's
I
why,
like
it's why when you say His choice, you say
yeah.
capital H. It's not
I mean,
ours.
First of all, religious did not start with written scriptures. For the most part, Judaism is still a very like they do have their religious scriptures, but there is a little to few history written about their people and everything. So a lot of it was oral. But other than that, maybe you do make a point that you know there is something that's shaped about our choices, uh, especially growing up and everything. You hear that, oh, God's giving you a sign, God's giving you like helping you through a rough time, or this
And
and
you kind of
that.
look for those signs, you know?
Yeah,
It's not
I
even just
feel.
about them being there. You kind of look for them.
Yeah, you know what's more interesting about religion that's not really commonly discussed in thinking about it is that the habits that we're trying to adopt today really, really revert back to religious practices. And it's kind of interesting.
Could you give examples?
Of course, I will start with fasting. Like, don't eat meat, don't eat animal produced products. And like, they had a very controlled way of eating, of course, because of like
Scarcity of resources?
what do you call it? Sorry?
Or scarcity of resources, or no?
Yeah, like there were not a lot of resources in the day anyway, but still there was a set thing for stuff. And well, we see today that consumption of animal-based products really leads to, you know,
Yeah,
Sickness.
as we
to
were
whatever.
discussing earlier, like it can have dramatic effects, even though it seems to be the small individual choice.
Also, meditation. Everybody says meditation helps, right? And it does. And meditation is really, really similar to what I know as prayer. Like, you go into this state of mind where you empty your head, like, completely. You just think about one thing, or you don't have to think about anything at all. You're trying to connect with something that's positive. You're bringing positive emotions into you, and you're just going
Yeah.
into this state of mind. And then there's this whole thing, like, especially the messages about, ooh, love, acceptance, like, it's still relevant today. So I still feel like these people back in the day, they did something right, except the murder and the killing and everything. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's like my opinion as an atheist of religion, since I have read the Bible, purely because I was interested in it.
Mhm.
And this is perhaps a bit of a controversial example. Like, if you read those stories in the Bible, you can compare them to like fairy tales where there's like a message in them, like, this is the moral of the story, this is what you're supposed or not supposed to do.
Yeah.
That is my view as like an atheist on the Bible. It's more like
More like
learning
a
stuff.
yeah. I haven't
Yeah,
read
and
the Bible myself, but I do want to read it at some point. For the same reason, I feel like, as Ivy said, a lot of the lessons that are taught in it could still be relevant today, and I think that it would be really interesting to read them and to.
Yeah, especially like some religious practices. I feel like people in the old days, they kind of figured out what worked for them. And today we have stripped, like, kind of strayed away from religion, but we still probably need those things, you know? So I'm not trying to say that, oh my gosh, guys, let's be religious again, make America great. And I'm just saying
Yeah.
that we should not discard everything, because that probably gets us back to zero.
Yeah, I guess
Instead,
it's because you're
a good
looking
idea
at the
to discard anything.
you're looking at the morals that are actually taught it like by the stories in the book, rather than the actual, like, they can be separated from the religious aspect and you would still have the same lessons, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So, like-
that's why
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
that's why I think Bible readings, or Quran, if you will, they're still like really important. Especially growing up, not because they should make you a believer, but because it's like morality for beginners, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Morality 101.
Or like
So,
with
so we
meditation.
can all
means
have
you-
the same.
Shaggy, you haven't
Kind of
actually spoken
moral.
much. Do you have anything to add to this conversation?
Yeah, I guess with morality, for me, it's just, I think the Bible's interesting, but I like to form my own, I guess, thoughts on morality. I don't really need to, I guess, have an official belief
Guidebook.
to believe in things.
No, of course not.
Yes.
But
What
yeah,
to do and what not to
like in
do.
general, I don't know. I think religion is cool, just not for me.
Yeah.
I mean, an interesting concept, I think, it is in, I believe it's in the Bible, where like marriage, divorce is like a big no-go.
Yeah, like
I think it's actually really interesting, because if you look behind the face value, you can think about it like this: that people have to consider who they are marrying, because divorce is not allowed. So you have to really think about who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Because if you look right now at our current society, the divorce rates are really high.
Yeah, isn't it
People growing up
in America?
without
Isn't it
one
like
of their parents
50%?
really hurts their, yeah, exactly.
That's
It's
crazy.
like really 40%.
yeah, I get it. Like, it's not a great thing, but I also have to agree with what Shaggy says. Like, it's not really hard to be a good person without religion. Like,
Yeah, you don't
It
really need
shouldn't
a
be,
book.
at least. I mean, it shouldn't be hard to be a good
yeah,
person without religion.
Yeah,
I
you can
feel.
still have
But then
beliefs.
again, some people find it hard.
And also,
mm,
religion can bring comfort to a lot of people. I've heard in
It
like
does.
Yeah,
difficult
Ma-
times, like
basic
feeling like there's
assumptions.
there's some kind of connection there, or you have some higher purpose, or there's someone listening to you no matter
Yeah,
what, and someone standing with you no matter what can be
Pro-
really helpful.
Probably because uh, well, because religions are very old and they were not set in very stable societies. They're very much based on fear, and I feel
That's
like
true.
that's a thing we're kind of outgrowing. And yeah, you can grow up being a good person without reading the Bible, but I still
That's a good
feel
point.
it's sorry. I still feel it's quite eye opening. I don't know. I
Mm.
think that um I don't know. I think maybe my very sympathetic view of it is that I've outgrown religion. I've kind of been in the atheist sort of thing, and hearing like it's kind of beating up a dead horse, you know. And I
It
just
kind of
realized that
is.
my life doesn't get any better or worse. Thinking that being so bitter that ew, God doesn't exist, it's like this doesn't help things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
yeah. To oh yeah, you go ahead.
No, you go first. You go first.
Oh, I just wanted to ask. I guess to which degree do you guys believe in like God? Like, what kind of form does he take on in your minds? Like
He
just God
does
himself.
he doesn't really affect most of my life, I suppose. Like in my head, it's just this really nice guy that I don't really want to hurt
Yeah.
by rejecting. Uh, no, but I mean,
Nice guy
like,
complex.
Do you see it like almost like a human or more like a being? I guess.
God is kind of like a white knight in your mind.
yeah. No, I think the more I grow up, he becomes less of a human thing. I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
there is a certain like God and religion aside, I've kind of like erased. Like I think the whole Judaism, Islam, everything they're tradition. Like everything's pretty much tradition. But I believe that there's some sort of mysticism around the the universe and the way things kind of circle around themselves.
Yeah, I guess. Is that why you're so into astrology?
I mean, yeah, like
To make up for it.
to make up for my astrology is the bad boy that I crave and I go after. So unpredictable and secretive. No, like the thing with astrology is that it's pretty cool, and it helped me personally. Reading about my stuff helps me helped me highlight some qualities that I dismiss.
Yeah,
Accepting myself,
I definitely
like when
get
I
that from what you sent the
yeah
other day. Yeah.
yeah like when I read that, oh, you're very communicative and romantic, it's like a weight is lifted off my chest, like, wow, you know what, maybe I am like that and it's not bad to be that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I totally get what you mean.
It gives
Yeah.
an aesthetic and a pride in being whatever you are,
Yeah.
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you have to stick through the bad things, because if you read astrology, it always tells you go through the hard stuff. So it's like, okay,
Yeah. Also, I find it comforting to read that kind of stuff and like recognize those traits in myself and think, okay, so this isn't something that applies to just me. Then, like, I'm not the only one who's this kind of person. You know what I mean?
exactly. And that's why I feel like that's what makes me wonder, like, why do we relate to the things that, to other people so
Why
much?
does thinking that other people experience the same kind of pain kind of soothe us in a way?
I
Like
don't know.
like you're literally condoning someone else being in pain, but it's making you feel better.
It's
I don't
because you
get
don't
that.
feel alone in your suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah, ooga booga
So
loneliness.
it doesn't make it better if you're not alone, if a lot of people are suffering instead of
No,
just
no. I
one.
mean, technically, it would of course be better if like you were the only person suffering through whatever you're suffering through, because that means other people aren't as well. But it you know, it's comforting knowing that at least there are people out there who can kind of relate to your struggle, and you're not the only one
Yeah.
facing it.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, we're social beings, so we kind of need that kind of reassurance, I
Yeah.
guess.
Mm,
Yeah, and
um,
also like we can see that other people who went through the same like still
Kind of
like made it
survive.
through that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true
Yeah,
as
and you
well.
can too.
I was reading actually in in the book *Sapiens* the usage of gossip, because you see, gossip was something really useful that people used to. They kind of used it as protection, like, oh, steer away from this person. He's bad. Really? He did this? Wow! It's used as a communicative tool,
Yeah,
and
communication.
like the more a lot of our talks is basically talking about other people, because we're also like a huge society. How many billion people again? So it's like
Too many.
there's a lot of talking around.
Yeah, true. I mean, I like to think
I
of
don't care
myself
though.
as a person with at least a somewhat of an amount of integrity.
Yeah,
uh,
integrity.
and
Yeah, of course.
and like I try to when I want to talk about someone, I try to generally do it to their face. But at the same time, I do get
I
what you
mean,
mean, and
sometimes.
I like I am I will admit that I do sometimes speak about people behind their backs. I'm sorry, I know.
Oh
Please
no.
calm down. Uh, but
No.
the only reason that I do that when I do is uh, because or the only
To
times I do
share
that
our
are when
thoughts.
I mean, well, it's partially when I have something that I can't like express in front of other people, if that makes sense. But also, it's like when you have something that you want to say to someone, but you know that it won't like make a difference. You know what I mean? Like I feel like
Yeah.
Oh
if you
yeah.
say something, if you have a problem, like let's say for example, you have a problem with something someone is saying, uh, if you if you know that, or if you've tried to, I mean, normally if this happened to me, I would bring it up to them and I would say, hey, this isn't cool. Why are you saying this? Um, but there are times when I've done that in the past and people have just brushed it off, and then I've realized that okay, I'm clearly not getting through to them. No amount of saying the same thing over and over again is going to change that. So in that
Yeah.
case, like when I when I see that thing again and I have those kind of feelings of oh come on man, I go to other people and vent about it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
I have those
Sometimes
kind
you
of
just
feelings like,
need to
oh,
vent.
come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's different. It's different to start gossip like, oh my god, did you know? Sarah met this guy in a
Why
like
is it me?
you know
Target
like,
me. I'm the
No,
target
I want to
here.
hear the story.
like
Yeah,
ooh, scandal. I
instead
think
of like personal issues, I guess.
yeah, but expressing something about yourself, that probably includes some people um, that um, that's also like probably about something you think. Like, oh my god, Dan was such an asshole when he said he would beat up his wife.
That's so
You
true.
know?
That was really a mean thing to say, and I deeply apologize.
And so no true.
Like, it also probably it's a communication tool. Like, you communicate with that other person that this is what I think is right, and the other
Yeah.
person will say that no, actually I think he's right, and be like, okay, so this person endorses domestic violence. Lit.
I mean, I'm not sure about the example you used, but I get the point you're trying to convey.
You
I'm
know,
just kind of attacking us all tonight.
am I?
Let's just hope that Chris Brown isn't watching.
Oh god.
So
Oh, maybe he'll be friends with Dan. That'd be
No,
cool.
I don't want to be friends with Chris Brown.
yeah,
Chris
Brown's
Brown, if you are
artist.
watching, collab?
Chris
No,
Brown,
I'm
yeah.
kidding. No, I don't want to work with you. I make better music than you anyway. Yeah, I said it.
True.
Bold
I
statement.
What was that, Annika?
love oh sorry like I'm all in favor of like telling people like in a kind and respectful manner that like if you're unhappy with like a way they act or like what they say, Um, but I think sometimes it's just good to like let out your feelings, even like especially if you know that it's not worth starting an argument for. Like there are a lot of
Yeah,
like small instances where
Yeah.
maybe it like makes
Yeah.
you angry or unhappy, but it's not such a big deal that it's really worth starting like a long lasting fight for. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I get
I
what you
think
mean.
as humans we need sympathy and empathy and all of these things, and we kind of want to get them from other sources. Being direct is awesome, but I feel like I am a direct person, mainly because I'm too impatient. So I kind of want to get things
Same.
down. Like, let's
I
get this
also
over
don't
with.
like waiting for people to kind of make up their minds about something.
Ah, same.
I don't like to wait for like I want to know what you think right now. I don't want to know what you think after you kind of thought about what was right
Same.
and what was wrong and what was like everyone's opinion about it. I want to know your opinion. And I feel like the longer that a person waits to know like the to know what to know what the other person is thinking, the more that other people will kind of like
Influence the.
change. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
kind of like
Makes sense.
affect the way that they're thinking,
Yeah.
which makes it not their thoughts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm giving a bad image of myself, astrology, gossip, religion. Great. But
Honestly, though, but
mhm.
like this is the first time that we talk, and I love the way you talk, so it's not
No,
really a bad impression.
thanks, same. Also we have to address that we lost a member.
We
Yep.
lost a member.
What?
Really
Wait,
bad.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
he he had to
No.
go, unfortunately.
oh, oh. Okay. Moment of silence
I'm
for Ray,
sad. We didn't even
please.
talk about racism.
That's not silence.
Oh, you know who I'm gonna hate on?
Stanley is
Can
suggesting to
Oh,
Stanley
join.
join?
Yeah.
okay. We'll see if we can get him in. In the
We
meantime,
have to get the ratio right.
okay, we've
Yeah.
talked quite a lot about religion and such. In fact, I did want to ask something. Still on that topic. What do you guys think of the idea that, seeing as I think, okay, oh, actually no, Shaggy is as well. I was going to say I might be the only person left in the call who isn't religious, but I don't believe Shaggy is
I mean,
either.
I'm not religious,
Are you not?
but like, yeah, but like that's not a choice here, so it's not
I'm
really
not
Oh
religious,
yeah,
but I
yeah, yeah.
do have a lot of like beliefs that are kind of religious, I guess.
Okay, I what
Like
like in regards to morality or like actual.
spirituality and stuff.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Like
Um,
Uh,
I don't fully believe in reincarnation, but kind of version of it, I
I
guess.
I also
yeah.
have like a complex with this thing. It's like, like when people ask me, "Are you religious?" I mean, technically, I believe in the omnipresence weird thing, but at the same time, I don't want to be separated from it. It's like I want to hang out with with Dan and Shaggy, saying that yeah, I too feel like I control my life and everything's great.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also want to join. Who's left? Annika. Well, Sarah's religious, and be like, yeah, let's just take a moment to feel the spiritual love from the universe. It's like, eh.
Is that not letting your decision be
Indecisiveness.
influenced by others though?
Sorry.
Is that letting your decision be influenced by what other people think?
No, it's like I know what I believe in, which is like a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of a.
Hey, Stanley.
But when it comes to
Oh,
Hey,
hi, but when it comes to labeling, I get this anxiety. Like, oh wait, I
Yeah,
don't want
no,
to
I
be
get it.
religious.
I guess that
But
makes
then it's
sense.
like, oh, I don't want to be atheist. Ah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
whether
get what you
you're
mean
religious
actually.
or not, I mean, you still have beliefs, you still have morals. I mean, everyone kind of makes those kind of choices.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
I
get what you
just
mean
hope we
actually
can hang
because
out with you guys.
I
I feel like a
I
lot
just
of
want to hang
people
out
get
with everyone, please.
easily like I
sorry,
feel a
Annika,
lot
go
of
ahead.
people get easily offended, like both ways. If you say you're an atheist or you're religious, because it's like with I guess if you like not like only acquaintances or stuff like that, I feel like there's like a central misunderstanding that being religious or being atheist for that matter um, means you fundamentally disagree with everything the other person
Hmm.
believes in, because this is like
Yeah,
such a personal and such a like integral part of one's life, and like disagreeing on such a major topic like whether or not a god does exist, I feel a lot of people can feel very attacked by if you
The
agree or
other.
disagree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I can.
why does it matter? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that there's associations with. Oh, you're religious. That means that one, you believe in Jesus. Two, you probably hate XXX and X. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be associated with
The
any
thing,
of
yeah,
these.
yeah, yeah. Like people assume that you're
Yeah.
confined to a certain set of beliefs when, based on the religious people I've known in my life, that's certainly not the case. Like you can be religious
Yeah,
and still have your own set of beliefs and
of
that
course.
differ from the exact specific
Yes.
things that have been taught. You know.
But that's nitpicking religion.
That's sorry.
And that's okay.
That's kind of like nitpicking religion.
That's all right.
I believe in that, but I don't believe in that. You're not choosing the whole religion. You're kind of just
Yeah,
in your own version
you
of
know what?
religion.
My religious status is hopeful. That's it.
Yeah. That's also what kind of
Relative.
similarly. I don't really like to call myself an atheist because
It feels
while
so
I don't.
skeptical.
It feels
Yeah,
so
yeah,
cynical.
It feels like
Yeah, I
I
hate
like
it.
we. I mean, I know we can't prove there is a god, but we can't prove there isn't. You know?
There's a term for that, agnostic. It
Yeah.
means
That's
yeah.
what I would refer
Yeah.
myself
It
to
also
myself
just
as.
feels like you claim you don't believe in anything, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It just
I don't
feels
know.
so.
I actually have.
Yeah.
I found recently that I've become more interested in spiritual things and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I'd
same.
like to learn more about it.
I also believe that, I have associated atheism with real, like, bitterness. Like, a lot of
Yeah.
complaining. Like, well, okay, so why doesn't God fix this? Or did you actually know that Adam and Eve is not accurate? Or, like, did you know that there were never Jewish slaves in Egypt that exited? Like, yeah, sure, I know that. But it's like, okay, you made your point. Boo boo, old people decided to make stories. Good
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
Cool. Can you get to being a good person already?
um, but anyway, on a similar
Promising.
topic, and to sort of bring Stanny into the conversation, I wanted to ask all of you, what is your opinion on the idea that humans have, or beings, maybe, have destinies? Like, do you think there's a set destination for all of us in life, or do you think we actually do have the free will to make our own choices and for them to have an impact on our lives?
I definitely believe that destiny exists.
Oh yeah.
I
Um,
actually
Yeah.
don't believe like that there's a set destiny that you absolutely definitely like arrive at, but it like kind of think that you have a purpose in life. But whether or not you act on like that, like people have talents, people have things they're good at, and like it's great if they get to use them and are in a position where they're able to like thrive on those things they're given. But I don't think that everyone like necessarily arrives at like a kind
The
of
same time.
destiny.
yeah, I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like when I like what Annika says because like um I believe that some people are destined to do something. Like if you're from the moment you're born, let's say you're probably developing a talent in singing, then it would be kind of given that you would do something successful or productive in it, not become like a pop star, get a Grammy. I mean, like, that something in your life would involve music. Like, I believe that's a mild way to put it, you know?
I
I guess.
certainly
Yeah.
Hey, Stanley.
over.
Hi.
Yeah. Welcome to the stream.
Yeah, I've been here the whole time, by the way.
Yeah, but
I know.
you know, this is your
Just
first time
silent.
properly speaking.
We are some.
Yeah, I try to speak, but you guys were so into the
Muted.
conversation, you know.
No,
No, I
go
wasn't
ahead.
muted. You just were into the conversation. I didn't want to, you know,
Yeah,
Yeah,
couldn't
thank
find
you.
a window.
Yeah, I didn't want to
Yeah.
interrupt. So, yeah, hi. I'm Stanny. I'm
Hi.
the new target of hatred, so I have to be against everyone else. But in this case, I'm actually, you know, kind of not. I I believe in free will over, you know, the other one, like the destiny thing.
Mm.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
feel like there are things that we're destined to do, no matter what. I feel
I
like there are
feel
people
like
that we're destined to meet, things that we're destined to do.
Mm,
I
The
feel
way
like
that we go there is not the same, but definitely the things that we are going to that are going to happen are the same.
Yeah, Shaggy, you wanted
no,
to
I
interject
don't
there?
feel like
Hang on a second, Stanley.
You know.
Oh, yeah. No, I feel like I guess whatever ends up happening with your life is your destiny.
Um, I'm a believer that humans are creatures of patterns. So if if you start out by doing something, it's most likely that you'll do it again. And your life will be shaped by very fundamental things about yourself. So you can actually predict, quote unquote, kind of someone's future, unless like it's very unlikely that things derail completely.
Yeah.
So you can read the patterns, read the signs, and change is really gradual. So you can like I do believe in free will. It's like you can change everything and anything, but if that change is also rooted in something within yourself, like because we're all very connected, especially if you're in the same society, quote unquote. uh your influences are very much the same. People are really similar, so it's
Yeah.
most likely that whatever change you adopt is probably gonna be very expected.
I guess that comes
You know?
from us.
Well, I mean,
The amount
agree
we're
with.
shaped by our environment, like as we develop. Yeah. But anyway, Stanley, sorry, you were
Yeah,
saying.
like not just environment, like in general choices. Like you can predict things based on a person's nature, but
Mm.
and the inherent existence of a destiny, like
Maybe you
a
have
written
multiple.
path that you have to follow.
No,
Yeah,
I don't
that
think that.
definitely doesn't exist.
I don't think that.
You don't. So you
Like,
guys
Maybe you
don't
have
believe in that.
multiple
Okay.
destinies.
Multiple.
What?
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
multiple
yeah,
Point of
possibly.
destiny that you
I
have
think
one
that's
destiny.
I think
Isn't
that's
this
what
destiny choice otherwise?
Maybe. I mean, I would actually. I was gonna say I don't think I do believe in destiny. And when I posed the question, I did kind of mean what Shaggy just said, which is like one specific path for
oh
a person to
no,
follow. Like
no.
No,
even
I
if we're
mean
not
you can look
aware
at
of
it.
it, you know what I mean? Like we still
Destiny
think we
is
have
not
the
universal.
we still think we have the freedom to make our choices, but like in reality, it's all laid out before us.
No,
Yeah,
I mean you can look at it in another way, in that in a metaphysical way, like the multiverse. That every
Oh god,
choice
you
has
fucking nerds.
another future, and so if you look at it that way, it's like every future, every laid out. There's not one destiny, but there's
no.
Mm.
many laid out futures, and at this moment in time, every one of them exists simultaneously. But once you make the choice, you chose your path, and that's
Uh,
where you are.
But
I don't know
does that? Oh, sorry.
multiverses. I feel like I would be giving myself too much credit to say that I exist in other universes.
um,
Oh, but
but you're giving yourself
what
a
the
lot of
multiverse
credit by
says that
saying
you do.
all the stars kind of work for you.
Okay, yeah, fair. Well, I'm so unique, guys. I'm just here.
but Stanley, are you saying that like every single choice you make changes the path you're on? Because if that's the case, then like isn't that whole theory kind of redundant? Because like if there's infinite of these, I'm assuming infinite of these
Yeah.
like different paths you could take in this multiverse or whatever, and
Yeah.
every single move and every single decision you make changes the path you're on, then it's basically there's no point in having the whole the whole shebang, because it's just
Yeah.
like
The
Exactly.
whole shebang.
Yeah. I
um
guess
Yeah,
it depends your definition of destiny.
yeah
I think that what sum up my thing, like, yeah, free to make your own thing, like, totally, but uh, it can be predictable because we're all just so similar and our
yeah
influences are similar, and the people around us know our fundamental values, so you can kind of see where it's gonna go. Like, yeah, sure, I have the power to start a YouTube channel and sell my soul to become an influencer.
hey big up
Follow KG D&D. But I don't think that my capacities, for example,
how do you mean
like because it's said that you could actually make your dreams come true with one fundamental change. Like, we do have a lot of power in our hands to lead a whole different life. I could start doing a million sports right now. Well, not now because pandemic, but you know. But it's not. It's probably not me.
Yeah, I get
So
what you
that's
mean.
why I'm saying that, you know, who we are really shapes what we do in some cases. So you can say that quote unquote destiny could be predicted.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, but here's another thing. Like, do you think it matters what we believe? Like, oh, whether destiny exists or not? Okay, in reality, whether it exists or not. How much effect do you think it has?
Well, I think some
Like,
people don't. Well, I mean, I can't prove this. Obviously, this is just a speculation. But I'm sure there are people who believe in destiny and, as such, don't feel any pressure to make the right choices in life, so to speak. Because
yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
so
use it to justify their choices.
yeah,
yeah, but so what you're
Uh,
saying is that the existence of destiny itself doesn't really matter, rather the belief in the existence of destiny,
well, yeah, I guess
because
that's true.
that's what
Because
matters.
even if destiny does exist, like we're still gonna think we all have free
Yeah,
will. It's not gonna.
yeah. Even
Yeah.
if we think our free will, like it's my destiny to believe that I have free will. Okay, in the situation where destiny does exist, that's my destiny to believe I have free will. So either way, what really matters is the choices we make in with that decision.
Yeah, so I guess
And yeah,
ultimately,
there
yeah,
are
it
right
is
and
the
wrong
belief
cases.
more
Yeah,
than the actual
yeah.
existence of it itself. I don't believe there's a destiny. I believe we all have the freedom to make our own decisions, and I think that's what makes life so special. You know, is that we can
Yeah,
just
but
do
I
whatever we
think
want, really, and there's no purpose for us. Like I don't believe we all have a specific like goal or purpose, as Annika
no,
said. I
of course
think,
not.
and I think that's why I think. I mean, I used to think it would be cool if there was some kind of meaning in life that one day we would someday find and be like, oh, so this is why we were put here. But as I've grown up, I've decided that I I I now believe it's that's not the case, and there is no um meaning inherently to life other than just to uh
to live.
yeah,
Suffer.
Well,
Yeah,
I
the
think that
purpose to. I think the purpose of life is to live.
well,
yeah.
I think
The
that
purpose of life is to suffer.
I think the
Hopefully not.
answer is way more nuanced than
That's so
each or the
edgy.
other. Like you can't. I don't think you can say that we're completely free, guys. It's all up to us, and you can
Maybe there's
either
a
say that
ratio.
there's everything is just one linear path. It's not.
I feel
Um,
like um, I feel like because the universe doesn't have an inherent meaning, the meaning we give to life is all that matters.
Yeah.
You know, like because there is no meaning and we give a meaning to life, it kind
Yeah,
of
like the
becomes this
meaning
whole
of
big
life is
thing.
KGD&D, so that's all that matters right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was personally like really stressed about what I should do in life, and there was a classmate of mine that kind of explained that it's not really linear. You're not really just gonna okay, I become a doctor, boom, 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 that's it, the end. It's a much more
I fulfilled my
like
purpose.
yeah, like to find something, to find what really fits for you will feel good later in life, because inevitably if you're not if deep inside you you can't become a doctor, you don't want to, it goes against your intuition, your everything, you're not gonna become a doctor. You're gonna life goes around its ways to get you to the right place because we shape our
Yeah.
lives.
I don't think that's necessarily agreement and disagreement. Sorry, with what I was
Yeah,
saying. I mean I believe we all have the freedom to make like whatever choice we want, but there is also of course there's always going to be factors outside of our decisions that also influence our lives, and in fact
I
factors that influence our decisions. And
I
it's not
feel
always going to be entirely, or it's never going to be entirely based on our own decisions, because there's always a whole world going on around us which is going to affect things as well.
exactly. I
Yeah.
just feel like, oh, free will. It's a very active thing to say, and it doesn't accurately represent what life is. Like, yeah, as I said, I'm gonna become a doctor. I'm so doing it. But if it's in opposition to my quote unquote destiny, that's like probably what I'm more fit to do,
Mm.
then my free will takes a passive form and forms a better path for me, which technically I did it because the small choices I made in life made me feel certain things, made me do certain things, made me find other things, and led me somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it is my choice, but
Um,
it's a passive. That's why people refer to God as a guide. That's why people say that, oh, God is gonna get me to a good place. Maybe it's not God. Maybe it is your own free will. That's your instinct. That's why people say trust your intuition and your instincts.
Yeah.
uh, okay, okay. One thing that I've heard quite recently, um, well, basically my family is obsessed with going to those religious things where people talk about God, and so
Oof.
I know a lot of things
You mean
about
church?
that. No, it's not church to us, but like it's like kind of like a place where you sit and someone who knows more about religion talks to certain
Oh
amount of
yeah.
people.
I mean, it's not
Yeah,
church,
it's
but we
kind of
can
like
just
where
call it
it's not
church.
church. It's like a club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a
we
club.
might as well just call it church.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. For okay. Sure.
I don't
The thing
know,
is,
church.
one woman said that we are not we're not choosing, nor are we having the choices made for us. It's kind of like a ratio between the two, where you kind of choose the path that you take on, that you take on in your life, but it will eventually lead to the thing that you are destined to find. So, for
Yeah.
example, if I am destined to be a doctor, I'm going to become a doctor. It doesn't matter how I get there, but I will get there. You know,
So
Yeah.
what you're
and
saying is that no matter the choices you make, they will all eventually lead to the same destination.
they'll lead to the same thing, but the same thing is not the same thing. Like it's like a very vague thing that you're destined to do.
Um.
But
Right. Right.
eventually you'll reach that point where you will um
Thrive.
maybe I'm gonna
Yeah.
be a doctor, but I'm not gonna be the specific doctor that I thought I would be.
I
Okay.
You
agree.
know?
It's like it's not like, oh, God knows where you're happy. No, it's you who knows where you're happiest as. And when I decide that I'm gonna become um, a painter, an artist, something, I made that choice because when I made that choice, it felt good. It's gonna
But
be
when
tough
the
to get
choices
there.
that we make are put into us in our souls, which are like really vague concepts, we don't
Yeah, yeah,
understand anything about
exactly.
our souls, and that kind of seems like we're not choosing. You know,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
choices that we're
exactly.
making are because of a choice that we did not choose.
Well, I think that it's not soul. I feel like it's your psychology. So it's your mind. It's your personality. So it's like,
I mean, you can't really choose the things that maybe I sing, but like I can't choose the fact that I can sing or not. I can't.
yeah,
If I
no,
like
of
to,
course.
if I like art, you can't really. When you say, oh, I
Yeah,
like tomatoes, you can't really explain why you like tomatoes. You're like, oh, I like the taste. How come you like the taste? How come other people don't like the taste? It kind of
exactly.
it, it's like a choice that you're not making. It's pissing me off. I feel like Sims.
Yeah, of course. I still feel like a lot of parts of yourself cooperate with each other. But for example, let's say that I say that I'm gonna become a doctor because I know that society says it's cool, my parents like it, it's prestigious, and I try to follow it, but it's not good for me because deep inside I wanna do art. I don't know, build cars or whatever.
Hmm.
Then life is gonna get me to the point where I
You're.
will do what I want. Because
Yeah.
deep inside, Ivy is trying to find happiness.
But
And happiness is where I want it to be.
but
So I will
do you
get
think
there even if I want it or not.
like path is informed by like some kind of greater being, or do you think it's just or some higher power, or do you think it's just this like you subconscious on a subconscious level maybe make decisions that lead to that path ultimately because inside you know
Um,
that's really what you want.
I feel like the logical thing to say is I do it. Because, you know, I put myself in trouble and I find myself out of it one way or another. Because that's what I'm kind of meant to do. That's my whole thing. Your whole world is your brain. So if
Yeah,
you're
but
if
also, like it was still at the end of the day your choice. Like it
it
was
was,
free will that led you there. Like
it
yeah, deep
is.
down you want to be, you said the example you said you want to build cars, for example, or do art. But yeah, everything you're doing is to be a doctor, for example, and if you keep choosing to be a doctor, that's what it's gonna be. Like it doesn't does deep down really matter
It
if you make any choices
it
leading towards
does. It does because probably later on I will be miserable. I will probably uh but that varies from person to person. If I am in the situation where I'm pressured to become a doctor, I'm gonna halfway give up. I understand that this is not for me, I'll give up. But if you're pressured to become a doctor, maybe you'll do it. Maybe you'll reach the doctor point, and maybe you'll love it.
yeah, and
Or if Dan gets pressured to become a doctor, maybe he becomes a doctor, but he immediately gets depression. It's
well,
very
yeah.
different.
What if it's the other way around? Like somebody deep down really wants to be a doctor, but and they can never reach that point.
Then it's
Are
the
they just
same
gonna?
thing.
But
They'll be
then you
unhappy
don't
because
ultimately reach that point. Okay, sorry, you were explaining.
like the doctor point of the doctor example that I meant to give is the thing that's not for me. You can put X, but
Yeah,
if the thing that you want is Y, you know, you can. I'm making psychology equations.
yeah.
You
Are
get
so
my
are you saying you
Yeah,
like don't ultimate like necessarily have to like there's nothing drawing you towards that point. Like if you were okay, take Stanley's example. If you deep down wanted to be a doctor, but you
Mhm.
didn't like take the steps to attain that at like to
Mhm.
a point where it would be impossible for you to do so in the future. Um,
Mhm.
would like is that a scenario that you think would actually happen, or do you think there's something that's inevitably gonna
Uh,
bring them to that
I
point?
I think that in life you can get to a point where you can't turn back now, and you can't really become a doctor that you wanted. That's why we also adapt. We move on from one dream to another. Like, let's say
So
my
would you
mom
say your
wanted to
destiny changes then?
Well, yeah.
Destiny, quote
I mean,
unquote.
exactly, because our
That's
brains
like the
are.
multiverse theory again. I
No,
think
Yeah.
we're
no, no.
going in circles.
are
I wanna like
constantly influenced by our environment. Let's say maybe I one day watched a documentary on doctors or something. That could inspire me to become a doctor, even though I
But
maybe
what
didn't like
leads
it
you
before.
there? What
it's
leads you to watch
yeah,
that
but the
documentary?
multiverse isn't just about your choices. The multiverse is about every single choice made in the entire world.
I
That's a,
Okay,
mean,
that's a lot of choices.
someone made that documentary,
Yeah,
and
someone
you
made a
ended up
Yeah,
choice,
watching
yeah,
that
and you made
documentary,
a choice to watch it. So that choice led you down that path.
Also,
yeah,
in
and you
reply to
being a
what Shaggy
doctor
said,
will probably influence other people to do stuff.
in response to what
So it's
Shaggy
kind of
said,
like
I'd just like
a
to
chain reaction.
say that if that were the case, like if your decision was influenced by outside factors, you could argue that that was your destiny the whole time, but that you just
yeah.
didn't know it
And
yet.
yeah.
whatever ends up happening is your destiny. So in that case, I don't really see the point of having,
You,
Yeah, I
having
you know
guess.
one.
what's
I guess.
what's your destiny? Your destiny is
Where
your
you end up.
monkey brain.
There you
Your
go.
monkey brain is like, oh, touching this feels good. Watching this feels good. Doing this feels good.
Shaggy gets this metaphor.
Yeah.
Monkeys, yes.
So what? That's why. Oh, this documentary feels good. Bb boo boo. I wanna become a vet. Uh,
I want to become a
it's
bat.
a
Well, yeah,
vet.
but
A
Oh, a
vet.
vet. I thought you said a bat. I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that one. I
you
don't
know
know if
what?
that's going
I
to be
wish.
an attainable destiny.
There's one thing that would determine your destiny,
What's that?
and it's kind of you, but it's also not you. Your subconscious. I mean, there
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
decisions you consciously make, but
Yeah.
even decisions you make, like the decision to, I don't know, click a button. That's the
But that's
easiest
not
thing.
our choice.
You either click
Our
it or
I mean,
subconscious is
your
not our choice.
subconscious
Well, it's still a
also
what?
choice,
influenced by
I
your
think.
environment.
It's just.
Maybe the subconscious is working with destiny and not with us.
Yeah,
And that
Yeah,
kind of
like
sucks, man.
your
I feel
sub.
like I'm not in charge of my body. It sucks, okay?
Yeah,
It's
like
not good.
there have there have been experiments that they've done before, like a very simple experiment that reads your brain waves, the subconscious and the conscious, and they put a button in front of it. It's like, yeah, just make the decision to press the button, okay? And
Uh,
the device itself, it's supposed to turn on a light when you decide to push the button, when it reads it that you have made a decision. And it got to the point where even before you choose to press it turns on, because your subconscious knows what you want to do. So
Yeah.
Also,
are you really making that
choosing for
decision,
me.
or is your subconscious
I
making that
mean,
decision?
Well, that's not really.
My
I don't
body,
know.
my choice.
I don't
mean,
know if that
to
like
answer
explains
your
anything. That just that just tells us that. I mean, I'm sure the study was more in depth than a few sentences, as you just said. But that
that was
just
the
Yeah,
entire thing.
actually,
That's
the study was just performed just now live. Uh,
yeah. Press button
I
or
just
don't
planning
did
it,
it
press
in my
planning
button.
brain.
it.
but no,
I
like
think
I feel like that just tells us that we make decisions before we actually act out things, which is obvious
yeah,
because we
I
can't
think
like.
that I think that there's a lot of parts to human nature. You can call it subconscious and conscious, and they work together. You think, feel, and decide things way before your body and your kind of
React.
outer
Yeah.
intellect
Thinking is
mix.
conscious. Thinking is part of conscious mind.
But
Yeah.
are
So
you
how?
Yeah.
So
thinking
does
or
that is
are
that a subconscious like decision then? If it's a conscious decision to press the button, like how does that affect? How does that relate to the subconscious in any way?
I personally don't
Like,
understand the
in your
button
mind,
thing,
the
so I'll
moment
stay
you
out of it.
think, it's like in your mind, the moment you think, yeah, I will press the button now, that's conscious.
Yeah. So what's the subconscious then? Where does that come in?
It's something deeper inside your brain.
Yeah,
That
but
Yes, because before you actively think about pressing the button, you kind of already know that you're gonna press the button before you actually
yeah,
thought about it.
there are brain waves in your brain before you even think about it.
oh,
Physical
okay,
thing.
okay. Sorry,
Yeah,
I get it
Your
now. I get
body
it now.
just kind of
before you
acts
even
out with
think about
itself,
it.
yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
It's like
that's
reflexes.
interesting.
So yeah, so things are happening in your brain before you decide them with your
Reflex
conscious brain.
I see.
don't reach your brain, they go
So are you
via your
controlling your brain, or is your brain controlling you?
I mean, we are our
Eh,
brains.
Scary.
Yeah,
Are we
I
our
don't
brain,
think
or
we're
No,
not.
are we
we're
our
not.
soul?
Yeah,
No,
I
we're
think it
not. I
depends
have
on
Are
nothing
we
to
our
do with
brain,
my
or are
brain.
we our soul?
like yeah, I mean, what's your definition of a soul or a brain or a person? Like, who are you? It's a whole, I guess, a different
Debate.
kind of discussion.
But that's kind of not
Discussion,
fair because
Yeah.
like
like you can't control many of those things, so
I
they're kind
I
of not
have
who
a
you are. That's why I think your actions are who you
But
are.
who are you? Like,
oh, you know what, this I have a love hate relationship with philosophy. It's like I love
yeah,
I love I love the concept, but I hate that there's so many contradictive theories that you can never get an
oh hell
answer
yeah.
on. It's like, oh, but am I my brain? Am I a monkey? It's like,
Well, I guess it's
ah,
because the philosophy is there to ask questions rather than give answers, right?
Yeah,
yeah, of course, like I love it, but it's also like I'm a person of
Okay, but
I'm
what's
also
going on?
I love I love discussions, obviously, but I'm also a person of intuition and feeling. Let me feel good in what I believe. Don't make me feel like am I my brain? What is this? Like,
Why does this hurt?
I'm a big supporter of doubt. You know?
it's like I want to hug my opinion and keep it. You know,
Before anyone else ruins it.
Yeah, I
The
get it.
same.
Like I believe in a vague idea. Maybe it's a color that. Oh, now this is life. It's a nice purple color that I feel good. It's like that's my philosophy.
Life is a perfect
Okay.
purple
That's my
color.
philosophy.
But
Purple
just
is
color.
What's your favorite color, Ivy?
Oh, I have no idea. Like I love red, but I'm starting
Hey,
to like purple. Who knows?
hey.
People who like
purple is
purple are
great.
weird.
Nah, purple is a great color. What do you
People
mean?
whose favorite color is purple are weird.
Nah, purple's
Okay,
one of
Oh,
my favorite
I'm
colors.
fine being called weird. I don't mind. I like
You
I
know,
purple.
because they don't just like the color purple. They kind of live in the color purple.
yeah.
Everything in their room is purple. They will turn their eyelids purple if they could, so that
Oh,
when they close their eyes they
yeah.
see purple. Those
Uh,
are purple people. And if
I
you're not like that, you're probably not purple people.
Purple
yeah,
people.
No, I
probably
mean
not.
my favorite color is purple, but I'm not like that.
I
I
doubt
mean,
it.
how do we know? We haven't seen your eyelids in a while,
I
mate.
think your favorite color is black.
Mm.
I
But
I,
it's
I
I
black
thought. I
color.
don't know.
I like red mostly because it looks good on me and around me. So
Same.
we're in
Actually, that would be
symbiosis.
green.
Dark
Hmm.
green.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
top three are purple, green, and gray.
That's an interesting combination.
Purple. No. Red.
Yeah,
Red.
but
bright green,
green, and
ew.
white.
I'd.
but going back to the
Oh, yeah.
No,
philosophy,
not
No.
green.
Bright
How do we
green's
go
ugly.
from
More
religion
like
to
gray.
favorite colors?
I don't know.
Conversation.
But back to
I'm
the
trying to make it wholesome.
you're doing a great job. My like I feel like what I think is more endorsed with like feelings and instincts, and I'm so proud of what I thought of
Oh,
that
there's
when
such
I that when I hear other opinions that are very correct, because philosophy is never right or wrong. I mean, except Freud. No, that's different. But that's psychology. Um, sorry, philosophy. Fuck Freud. The Freud example. But in philosophy, there's not a lot of right and wrong. It's very multifaceted. So then I'm like, no, I don't want other theories. I like my own conspiracy theory. You know,
Yeah.
like yeah, all the
I like
conspiracy.
hearing new ideas in general.
I
Yeah.
like them too, but I like hearing them, but I don't. It's
To be
it's
honest,
a hard
I mean,
time
I
accepting
think
everything.
I think the point of reading philosophical stuff isn't to like find answers necessarily, but to inspire you to ask more questions and like to wonder about things.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like you're like, oh, yeah,
Probably.
that's the answer to
evolve
life.
into your
I
own
got it.
beliefs.
Yeah.
Do you guys believe like a soul? Of
mm,
some sort?
Yeah,
not really.
Oh,
yeah, I definitely believe in the soul.
I didn't hear that.
Uh,
You believe
like-
in a soul.
Yeah, I do.
oh damn, am I the only one who
I'm
doesn't?
not sure.
But I don't think I am in control of it.
How do you mean?
Like
I
I
mean,
don't
I
think
am.
I choose it or I'm in control of my soul or anything.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
that was the question. Is your brain
yeah.
controlling your soul, or is your soul controlling your brain?
Yeah, what is and also
My
what
soul is
is a
controlling
soul?
me
Like is it just
and my
dark?
brain.
I guess it's more
I mean, I just
the
think
being.
I feel like all the behaviors and decisions we have and make can be. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong because I haven't looked into this much, but I feel like surely they can just all be explained by like brain chemistry.
Yeah, exactly. So a soul could just be, I guess, the spark that's uh just a
I mean,
spark.
I guess
you know?
Here's the
like
thing,
the
there is,
destiny thing. It
I
depends
did
how you.
hear,
Sorry, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I did hear one, kind of a nerdy, example once to explain how the soul works.
Mhm.
I mean, you can choose to look at it however you want, but it's like, old TVs.
Mm-hmm.
They actually have a box inside them where you have wires, and by controlling these wires, you can have any sort of image or sound show up on your TV. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
in the TV itself. So that TV is your body, okay? And those wires are part of your body. That's your brain. It
Yeah.
can make anything happen. However, what you watch on your TV is not coming from your TV itself. It's coming from something outside, something you don't even see. It's
Yeah.
the radio waves or
Yeah.
It's
whatever.
it's
You
like
know,
each
those are
TV is
controlling.
each TV
Yeah,
program different.
Hang on a second.
no, I'm talking about
Yeah,
the
go
old
ahead.
TV. Like
Go ahead,
that's the
Stanley.
example. Is that
Like,
what's coming from
yeah.
outside that's controlling your TV? That's the soul in this example.
So it's
But
just this
the
like
TV itself,
omniscient kind of thing, like idea. It's like that kind of affects.
it's something from
yeah.
outside. Like it's true.
Yeah.
Your body and your
Yeah.
brain chemistry, your brain, it can do everything the human can do. Right? Everything can be explained by biology, by brain chemistry.
Mhm.
But just like the TV, every sound and image, like you can make an entire Game of Thrones episode using those wires, okay? But
Yeah.
that's not how you watch it. you were using that old TV, of course. It's being broadcast from outside, from something outside of this television, which is our body, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know
I
that's
mean,
our soul.
to me,
That's
your
what's controlling it.
soul, to me, your soul is just your consciousness.
Yeah, I was gonna say I guess it defines like the destiny thing. It defines
Uh,
what you define a soul to be, really. Like,
I
yeah,
I feel like when you refer to a soul, I feel like there's a spirituality to it
Yeah,
attached,
that's
and
what I thought.
despite being a very feely spiritual person, I disagree, and I think that it's just your brain. It's just the things that you got.
Wow. It's like I'm the opposite of you, being this. Oh, I don't really care about spiritual stuff that much. I'm like, all my examples were science, but no, I think that yeah, your brain can do everything,
Like
but
No,
even
I think
your
that, yeah.
conscious thoughts, even your conscious thoughts, like they are brain waves at the end of the day.
I
But
like I
what you really are, the soul, is a spiritual thing that's controlling it. It's from
like I
outside.
I think that there is a very unique program, quote unquote, in each and every one of us. But I still believe that there's nothing. Um, uh, like I think it's kind of very brave to say that our inside looks and acts human. Like I'm taking the word soul
are you
as
saying I
how
don't
it
look
looks
human?
like.
Wow, wow, rude.
No, you're a goat. Ha!
Ah, shit, you got me there. To be
Laughing.
May
fair.
I ask a question? If you don't believe in a soul, do you believe in life like after death?
That's the thing. I don't
Um,
think I do.
Alright.
Interesting.
yeah, I don't think I do either.
I don't
Like
believe.
I
Does
wish.
anybody want to test it?
Yeah,
We'll have
Yeah,
your
we'll
own
Like
keep you
podcast.
updated.
Yeah, you'll hear it here, folks. Join us next time on Dongcast, where we have a member from the afterlife.
I mean, I
no,
mean,
but I actually think that yeah, despite me starting out this podcast saying that you know what, God might be there. I think, like as I said, my religious status is hopeful. Um, I believe in niceness, but I don't think
Mhm.
that saying that there's a life after death is way too bold. I feel like
Okay, here's the thing though. Even if you just believe, you are a physical being, when you die, you're kind of made up of all these chemicals that, uh, don't really disappear. So in a way, you kind of live on.
yeah, but that's not really
Oh,
afterlife, is it?
there
That's
you
just
go.
like your cell, like your chemicals
Yeah.
chilling, but
I
they're
mean,
not
if
really
you
Yeah,
want
doing
to
where does
think
the
much.
about
soul
it
go?
like that, if you want to think about it like that, you don't have to die. Like your body sheds, skin cells and other atoms as well all the time,
I
and
mean
there are
it's
atoms in your body that have been inside Hitler
I
at some point.
oh
So are
great.
you Hitler?
Yeah, I mean,
It
depends on your what you think you are.
depends who you're asking. If you're asking
Yeah.
Ray, then he'd say yeah.
I mean
Um,
Yeah, I hope so.
Like he's not here to like say
Oh wait, I'm
anything.
supposed to be
But
Ray's
even,
no,
replacement,
no,
so
no.
the
I
But
have to be the
energy that
hang on,
first.
hang on.
makes up your body.
I do want to say, since Annika, since I feel like you didn't really or like you didn't really get a chance to speak much in the last debate, and you seem to have an opinion on this. What is your take on the afterlife idea?
I absolutely believe in life after death. I don't believe in like this. I don't know how to describe it. Like in this very book-like
oh
um
biblical.
description. Yeah, biblical. Oh, not actually biblical. Maybe like the way children often imagine heaven,
Oh yeah.
like you sit around there with God and pray and sing all day. Like I don't absolutely believe in that. But I think it's really a place of like contentment, being like at peace with your heart and soul. And yeah, I think that's more my like image of heaven or like
Yeah,
life after death.
Yeah.
I guess that would be nice. I think there's nothing after death, which I know sounds nihilistic,
Yeah.
and it is
No,
something that like
I
sometimes
agree.
I think oh God, one day I'm gonna die and there's nothing I can do to stop it, and then nothing happens after, and I'm gone forever, and that'll suck.
Then you're
I
like,
mean that would be great
woohoo.
for everyone else, but it'll suck for me. But like, I think we are
I'd
like
be
I said
sad
earlier. I think we
if I
are.
came back.
I think we are our brains, and like when
Yeah.
those wither away
Yeah.
and stop working, it's like That's it. You've
I
had
mean,
your run.
your current you, definitely, I feel like you're gonna be gone. But
I
even,
mean,
even energy can't be destroyed. It just goes from one place to another place.
Yeah, I guess it
yeah,
depends
but
on what
Where
you
does
consider
the soul
dying.
go?
Soul that leaves your body just gets,
Where
Uh,
does the soul go?
I-
transferred.
are we done with this discussion,
No.
or?
I mean,
I
yeah.
want
Okay,
to say,
go on.
I wanted to say that um, going to religion is like, you know, the ideas of heaven, hell, all that, the afterlife thing, maybe could be based on stuff that people already feel. Like, think about it. If you didn't have a very fulfilling life because you were horrible and that didn't get you to a nice place in life, maybe your last moments will be dreadful, so you think you'll go to a bad place. But if you
Oh.
lived a fulfilling life full of
Oh, yeah. That.
nice choices and people, then you die, like, of course, with the stress and everything, but you're probably not in a very horrible place. Maybe,
That reminded me of something that I used to like think and sometimes still think about. Which is, well, two things, two concepts that have crossed my mind. First of all, the idea that you can still feel after death, which
Ooh.
is terrifying.
Oh, I want to do that.
You want to? I don't want to do
Is it
that.
terrifying?
Because like, what if you get cremated? Imagine that. That would suck.
Oh my god, that would be so cool.
What do you mean?
That would be cool, right?
But
Oh,
no, but
that's medically proven to be like not possible.
oh
but-
really? Oh, thank goodness.
I mean,
Okay,
if you're
thank you.
dead, your brain is
You've
dead,
just
you can
taken a
feel,
huge
so
weight off my
you
shoulders.
can feel you're not dead.
But
I would
also,
suggest that
sorry, you go.
I
I
want
was
to know what people do after I die.
I would suggest
Yeah.
that we
That's what
don't.
I'm interested.
I would suggest that we don't speak together once. It's really hard to hear two people having long sentences at once.
Yeah, true.
Like,
Anyway, you go. You got me on edge. Well, I did also want to
Some
say though that
practice to do.
yeah, I did. It's very difficult doing this online, so please bear with us for any crosstalk.
Yeah.
But I did want to say that also the idea that the last thing you feel, like you feel that for eternity. What about that? Do you think is that also
Ooh.
proven to be
That would
impossible?
suck.
That would be even worse. Unless you pass peacefully, that might be
would
kind of
even
nice.
worse than
I
being
mean,
burnt
But,
you,
like-
alive.
you cannot feel
Alive.
your
Dying
brain
in
is
your sleep.
dead.
You cannot. What? Sorry.
Sleeping forever.
I mean,
You
if you
cannot
don't-
feel anything if your brain is dead.
I mean, if you don't believe in life after death, like you won't feel anything if you're not hurt
Yeah.
Yeah,
anymore.
I guess.
There's no eternity.
I guess it's just me being scared of death.
Yeah. Oh my god.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys went through this, but when I was like 15, 16, I went through this phase where I was terrified of dying. I was like, what if I go on a ship and something horrible happens? What if I fly on a plane and something horrible happens? What if
I mean,
what if I ride on the train today and someone decides to blow it up? I became
Oh yikes.
terrified of
Yeah, I've never.
things.
I wouldn't say I ever had a phase like that. Although every
No.
so often, like I just remember the fact that death is inevitable,
Yeah.
and then that's like a big shock to my brain, and I have
You
to
know
calm
what's
down.
very peaceful?
What's that?
It's very peaceful embracing it. Like when I got stressed that, oh my god, do you think I'm gonna die from this wound? I'm thinking that, okay, I die. So what?
Yeah, I guess you're
Yeah,
not going to
yeah.
care
I
that
mean-
much afterwards.
I mean,
No.
I never experienced being afraid of dying because of like the suicidalness. But like other
Aw.
than that, it's always seemed like a really fascinating and like an idea that I wanted to happen rather than like
Really?
kind of stepped away from.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
I feel kind of same.
I mean,
I-
you'll get your
I-
chance to experience it eventually, I suppose.
Soon.
So hopefully later rather than
So
sooner,
exciting.
because there's like
Yeah,
there's a
sure.
lot
Yeah,
of good
same.
things left to
Okay.
experience. I mean, there's a lot of great things left for all of us to experience in life first, you know, before we
Yeah,
find
that's-
that out.
And before
Not
we
really.
close the book on the afterlife topic, I
Isn't
just
that
want to
Destiny, though?
say, no, the afterlife topic. I just want to tell you guys the perfect answer to the question of afterlife,
Mhm.
given by the true Lord and Savior Keanu Reeves, when
Hell
asked,
yeah.
"What do you think happens after we die?" And he responded with,
Who
"I
gives a
know
shit?
that the people who love us will miss us."
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
Like
sweet.
the
beautiful
perfect
song.
answer. It's like the perfect answer.
Why is he
So
the love of my life? Please explain.
That cannot be explained.
But then
He's
again,
the love
that's
of all
like
of our lives.
that's like everyone
yeah,
in
I
my
agree.
life to me.
I think that one of the things that's like most terrifying to me is hurting people by dying.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
I.
That actually same. That's the reason
Yeah, that would be really. That would
I exist.
be
so
really
you
tough to
better
deal
not die, okay? For my
Yeah, I'll do
I'll
my best.
try.
y'all better stay immortal.
You know, technically, there is no proof that one of us isn't immortal. Like, I could be immortal and we
That's
wouldn't know.
true.
That's
Or-
Imagine
true.
that. That'd be
Or
sick.
the fact that none of us
Yeah.
could become
If
immortal.
one of
at
us was
some point
immortal,
in
who
our
would
life.
it be? I
If
feel
one
like
of
it's
us-
But here's the
It would
thing,
definitely be
there's
Annika,
no
yeah.
proof- Here's the thing, there is no
She
point.
deserves it. We don't.
Guys, one at a time, please.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry,
Stanley.
Stanny.
Yeah, so there is no proof that immortality will never be discovered. Just saying. I mean, if
Hopefully,
it's
it
our
gets
bodies
discovered in
that
Anakin.
die, and if our bodies die, like technically there
Actually,
can be a point where we can prevent that.
I have a cool theory.
Mm-hmm.
What if look, we age, we go from age 0 to 90, 100, and then we go
90,
back
100.
like the nine,
Jesus.
like Benjamin Button.
That's
90
that's
to
an
100, and
okay.
then we do the Benjamin Button thing where we go back.
I want
I
that.
mean,
I mean, is that
Actually,
why
no, I
old
don't.
people
No.
start getting like shorter
everything
and
is a
stuff?
circle, right?
Yeah,
Listen,
because they become the
listen.
fetus.
Yeah,
They
like
become the
listen.
Yeah,
fetus.
have you ever seen like old people get shorter? So yeah,
Dun,
maybe
dun,
that's just them
dun.
returning to being infants.
That's not it, but okay. But listen, wouldn't it be cool? You reach like the age where you're supposed to die, and you're like, oh no, and then you go into this whole caterpillar thing, and then you come out, and you're like,
I would
you're
love
like,
that.
and then you're like the same age, but then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, and at each birthday you get younger and younger.
That would be
and
amazing.
younger.
Get to relive all your younger years, like
Live
with
for
all the
many
knowledge and
years.
Actually, no.
experience and
I-
everything.
I don't want to not experience that. I want to experience that.
It will be fun until you get to like your teens, because like brain develops
Yeah,
fully
imagine
at
experiencing
some
that
Yeah,
life.
actually, that would suck.
around that age, so your brain starts deteriorating.
That would be that
Honestly,
would actually be
that's what
horrific.
And then you
dementia-
die
Maybe
after
Jesus.
that's
years.
what
Yeah.
dementia is, like your brain getting destroyed. Maybe that's your brain returning to
Oh
your,
yeah, I guess
It
childhood.
really,
in a way we
I
do
really
come full
agree with
circle.
Whenever Stanley talks about anything that's related to the universe, my brain just turns off. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Like I don't care.
But obviously,
Okay.
like guys, we all know the real way to get immortality is to gather all 7 Dragon Balls. Everybody knows that.
Oh, shut up, you nerd.
everybody knows that.
Oh no.
Everybody
Well,
knows that. I can't believe you guys
I
don't know
think-
that.
Should we change the topic overall? Like,
I'd-
I'm
well,
tired of talking.
I do. I think we'll
the-
actually wrap up the podcast quite soon because
no.
it's been
Oh.
going for over an hour now. But I did.
Oh,
Okay, if you guys wanna do a different topic, then what do you have in
can we
mind?
do the "Am I the
Something
asshole" thing
fun.
that Annika said?
Can we do
Oh, do you want to do
So-
that?
I thought it would be fun.
Okay, sure. If someone wants to get up the Reddit page, then we will judge people. That's the
On
game.
on the
Judging
relationships?
people. We'll do Am I the Asshole today? We'll do judging
Yay,
relationships
that's
another
my
time.
favorite.
Oh,
Alright.
perfect.
Our fans are telling us to continue the podcast. Well, if you want that, you should follow our.
Subscribe.
Yeah, definitely.
follow
Also
and
subscribe
subscribe.
to our YouTube channel where we'll be uploading the episodes.
Also,
Ooh.
subscribe to Dan's channel.
I'll do that as well. I don't upload any good content there, but
Oh,
do it anyway.
wait, how do you guys see
It's
the
all
chat?
good content.
It's just on
Oh,
Twitch.
Just on
Yeah.
Twitch.
click on the arrow.
Although
I
I'm not
think.
on there, so
Actually,
I can't see
I
on
mean,
the thread.
there is a way to have the
Yeah, the
the
arrow.
thing appear on our screen. Maybe we
Mhm.
can do that at some point for the podcast at least.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I do know how to do that. In fact, I could do that right now.
Yeah.
Are we?
Here's the thing. Do we want to do that with because once we upload the episodes to YouTube, people can see that we only get a few messages. Maybe not right now.
No.
we can
I
do
mean,
that.
it's still
Yeah.
it's still interesting to see. I think like one of my favorite things
No.
about watching Critical Role back
Alright,
in the day
But
was
yeah,
seeing the
I
chat.
think we
And
should
it's a shame they
do
turned
it
that off.
from the beginning of the episode, maybe next time.
Next
Oh,
time.
well, I've got
Yeah,
it up now.
Definitely.
Yeah, next time from the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, we'll do, definitely. I don't know how you get
Uh,
this outside of
Okay,
OBS.
so are we? Is someone gonna open up Reddit?
Yeah, someone else
I'm
will have to, if
traveling,
that's
so
alright.
it can be
so
on
it's not gonna
screen.
be me.
Maybe Dan should do it so it can be on screen.
Yeah.
It would lag. Like, my internet
Oh.
cannot handle it. Yeah, someone else will have to
Okay,
do it.
so Ivy, since it's your favorite, so why don't you do it?
Sure. What do I do?
Just go onto Reddit and
Open
pick a
the
good post.
subreddit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go there. I opened the subreddit, guys. Look at me. Reddit.
Good job, Ivy.
Reddit.
You did it.
Thanks. Speaking of
Okay,
ivies,
so
they look
okay.
so pretty. I want them in my house.
In your house.
In my house, yes.
Fair enough.
She wants like mini versions of her in her house.
Oh my, the self-indulgence.
I was thinking like poison ivy, and I was thinking, would you want poison ivy in your house? Maybe
Why not? That
I mean,
sounds cool.
isn't it like dangerous? Isn't it harmful? Is it
Yeah,
not?
but the character is hot, so why
Oh.
wouldn't you?
Oh yeah.
Well, there you go then.
She's an eco-fascist. We don't vibe.
Oh, I
Oh
wanted
my
to ask
God.
something, but oh yeah, since to
Okay.
avoid crosstalk in this endeavor, I would like to make a suggestion, which I'm really excited to make, which is that whenever you want to pass judgment, you must make your buzzer sound first, and I'm gonna need you all to come up with buzzer sounds. So just make a noise.
Okay.
Okay,
okay.
that you know what that'll
Okay,
do.
interesting.
Should I?
I'm not doing that.
Should I?
Actually, BRB, real quick.
Okay.
Is that your buzzer sound?
The,
Yep.
It's my buzzer sound. Oh wait.
Okay. Mine will be
innovative. Is Annika
Great.
drinking wine?
yeah, my kazoo.
Okay, so tell me if you hear this or not.
Yep.
Yeah.
What did you?
That's your buzzer
You know
sound.
what?
Uh,
You know what?
Bruh. I'm
mine
just
is
I'm
the-
just gonna
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sarah?
You know we can actually use Zoom for this.
no, no.
There you
Mine,
can
mine
raise
is
your
toot
hand.
toot. Mine is toot toot.
Okay,
Uh,
perfect.
by the way,
Buzzers
do
are
I just
decided.
read?
Yeah, you read the whole post out and nobody else interrupt. And then when
okay.
one of us has something to say, sound your buzzer.
Okay, so I will read the title and you tell me if we should read this one or not, because not
Okay.
everything sounds interesting. Okay, new one. Update. Would I be the? No, that's an update.
Well, you can
Sorry.
find the original post through the updates, I
Yeah.
think. So
Would I be the asshole if I asked my ex to pay me back the money she owes me, and now that we've broken up?
we can do that one.
Yeah, I'm personally like,
Can I give a suggestion?
yeah,
Ivy, if you're on your laptop, you can actually stream your.
on Discord though.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, you can stream it on Discord.
good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How do I
So
do that?
we can read it. You see the go live, right next to disconnect.
What you want to do is find that and then click the button next
Thing
to
is,
it,
I'm
which
not
says
in the-
disconnect.
I'm not in my laptop. I'm not in the call. I'm in the call on my phone.
Oh.
Oh, okay, never
Oh,
mind
never
then.
mind.
That's not gonna work.
I mean, I
Yeah.
could join, but I guess there will be like a.
It's all right. The viewers don't need to
Like
don't need to be able to read it.
You can listen.
I can always edit it in like later anyway. So for
yeah, I
the
can
for the
send it
live,
later.
yeah, for the live
Yeah,
they won't
you
see
can
it.
send the
But
link. That's alright.
What are
Let
we
me
doing?
just.
we are
would I be
reading
the-
"Am I the Asshole" posts and judging people, and that's the name of the
Okay,
game.
yeah.
Judging people.
You have to pick a buzzer sound.
Yeah, when you
Right.
want to be the one to give
Wait,
advice.
What did you guys pick?
Okay.
I picked
Toot toot.
a re.
I got an empty mango bowl.
Oh.
Can I just
Well,
blow in my microphone, or is that annoying?
Give an example, please.
You
Yeah,
can
that's
try
fine.
to
That's
have a
fine.
buzzer. You can try to have buzzing.
I already
from
have
your
buzzing,
microphone.
so it's
You
confusing.
can bring the bee.
Like
This will
I,
be,
s-
this
There's
will be my
already a
buzzer.
bee living in my microphone.
Can you hear it?
What is that?
How about I suggest something
It's a
else?
calculator because I'm a
Oh
smart
my
one.
god.
How about I suggest something else, like that drives me less crazy. We will apply to ourselves 2 rules. 1, do not talk for an eternity, and 2, if another person talks, trust that they will finish up quite soon, and wait until they're done and then talk.
You cannot
Okay.
talk for eternity. That's the plan.
Yeah.
Dan
that
said.
includes that
Dan said.
includes trusting people.
Yeah.
And
This is already going wrong.
yeah,
Uh,
and I'm
Da-
here. Like nobody should trust me, definitely.
Dan said,
I don't
"Okay,
trust you.
disappointed."
No, I like the buzzer thing.
Well, okay, you can do the buzzer.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm gonna do
would I
mine
be
as well.
Would I be the asshole if I asked my ex to pay me back the money she owes me now that we've broken up?
No, moving on.
No,
So last month, my ex, who I've been dating for nearly a year, broke up with me. It was a complete blindsight. I thought everything was great and we were talking about getting an apartment together next year. Then we went to a party where she saw her most recent ex. A few days later, she told me that he talked to her in that night and realized how bad he fucked up when he saw her with another guy, me. He's now ready to give up his vices for her, and she's sorry, but she still loves him enough to give the relationship another try. I was shocked and hurt as hell, but what can I do? I can't force her to stay. I was miserable for weeks, but now I want to settle things and move on, and one of the things that I need to be settled is the $4,000 that she owes me. We never talked about how or
Jesus.
when she would pay me. Back then, all I thought of was that she was my girlfriend. She needed money for a valid reason, and I had money to spare. I wanted to take care of her because of her problem because I wanted to take care of her. I told her to pay me when she had money, and she has been paying me a couple $100 every now and then. I was fine with that because she was my girlfriend, but it's not something I would do for everyone. Now that we're no longer together, I've been thinking about asking her to pay me the $4,000 by the end of the year. I know it sounds petty, but honestly, now that she's no longer with me, given the circumstances of our breakup, I don't feel as inclined to be lenient with her, to her with my money as I did before. I also want a clean break so I can totally move on from all this. I don't like the idea that I'll still have some sort of communication or connection to her for the next few years if it takes that long for her to pay me. I'm willing to listen and ready for your judgment. What do you say?
So should I just start? Um, I would say no assaults here because on the one hand I think like it would be like a it would be really generous to like be lenient and say, all right, if you can't pay all the money back like immediately, and I know he said at the end of the year, but I don't know the financial situation of his ex. Like I think it is fair to like kinda be mindful of her current financial situation, but I guess it's also understandable that he wants the money back as quick as possible. So I guess we should kind of try find a middle ground where she tries her best to give it back fast, and but he gives her the time she needs.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah,
I think
you use your buzzer, right? As well.
Yeah.
Would you like to give your opinion?
I
I'll talk after.
okay. I want to say that I like he's not the asshole, but I don't think he should do it because like maybe she borrowed money if that's a thing, and she clearly did because she paid him back a little bit, little by bit. But I feel like if she was in a good situation, maybe she would have already paid, or like for 4,000 to stack a bit a lot. I feel like there's no there's no reason to be, as he said, be tied for that long, and maybe it would be a little unreasonable at this point.
What, to
But it would,
expect the money back?
yeah.
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like I think what Annika said is quite. I think what Annika said is quite what I would agree with. Which is that what was it you said again? It was that
They
they
should
should
find
be
a common.
mindful of her financial situation because it may be that she's unable to pay it back, but
Yeah, I, but they can try. He can bring it up.
yeah, because uh, I mean, I think anyone in that situation, like if your partner asks you for money, you're not going to say no, right? Like, I mean, if it's someone you've
Yeah.
been with a long time who you envision a future with, you're not going to say because you see it as like a
Yeah.
joint thing. You don't see it as giving someone else money that you don't expect to get back. You see it as sharing money with someone who you're going to who you share a large part of your life with, you know. So
Yeah.
I think it is fair to want to have that money back, of course, but I think it's like Annika said, you should also
Yeah.
pay heed to her financial situation, because for all we know, like
Yeah.
asking for it back by the end of the year could cause her huge difficulties in her own personal life, which she's not prepared to
Yeah, because
deal with otherwise.
4,000 is not a little,
No,
man. You know, it's not like 1K. It's a lot.
I mean 1K even.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sarah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The thing is, I think he should ask her back, and I think for the reason that, okay, first of all, I don't agree with the fact that she kind of like got into a relationship with another person when she was not over her first relationship. That's kind of really
I agree.
sucky
It's
to do.
different. Like,
It's
that's
not different.
fair.
It's not different. You can tell. You can tell when you still have feelings for someone, and you can tell when you don't. And if
Yeah,
you
that's
kind
true.
of built a life where you're in a relationship where someone would give you $4,000, that's serious. And the fact that you weren't over your ex is kind of sucky. Um, Also, I think you should ask for it back. I think I don't know when this Reddit was posted, so I don't know when the end of the year was.
Well,
It was
it was.
posted 4 months ago, so and by the end of the year, so that's basically one full year.
Oh,
I mean,
then that's very
especially,
reasonable. I mean,
but not.
she could try to get the money, and if she can't, she could at least try.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
think he'd be fine with like not all of it, but most of it.
yeah. I think another thing to consider is that you know, when if in a situation like that, assuming she's got a job and she's earning money and you know, knowing she has this debt, I think it would be unfair to not save money or put money aside to pay
Yeah.
that back, because that like if you are if you're making like a certain amount of money in the year and you're spending all of that money while having a debt to someone else, you are essentially spending that other person's money still. You know what I mean? Does that make
But we
sense?
don't know
That's true.
about their financial situation.
No, I know, but I'm
She could be
like,
very well. Yeah.
She
yeah,
could,
true.
yeah,
In
she
that
has a
case,
Yeah, I
that,
year
mean,
to
we
get
don't
like a
know.
job and to fix her
Yeah, but
financial
we don't know
situation.
about the financial
But like
situation, but the
he
guy
could ask
obviously does.
anyway.
I'm just,
He could
what I
ask
mean is
anyway.
that if it's possible for her to pay it back comfortably and she doesn't
Well,
because she spends it on like other things for herself, I think that's unfair
I
considering she took the money like knowing she would be expected to pay it back. If that
I
makes sense.
think it's you know, there's the times are rough now, so he wouldn't be the asshole to ask, but I think it's gonna lead to a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I
But
mean, yeah.
to wrap it up,
But like she kind of like she should have
brought it
expected
herself.
those. Yeah, she kind of should have
No,
expected those like
I accept.
consequences because of what she did.
But also,
You're right.
there's the idea that I've heard this before, that you shouldn't lend away any money, like you shouldn't lend money and expect 100% to get it back, because there's always going to be the chance or the possibility that you may not see that money
Mm,
again. So
eh,
there is, you could argue that he shouldn't have lent that much money in the first place,
no,
considering it's a large amount
no.
of money. No?
Yeah.
No, it's
I,
just
You
he's
disagree?
different.
I
I
Yeah,
would
I
expect
mean
him
that
to
is
do
true.
it.
I would
Also,
have lent the money myself, but if I could
there's
afford
one
it.
thing, like as I said, this was posted 4 months ago,
can
so
I
it was. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
sorry I'm interrupting, but there is an update. So if you want to wrap it up, because we
Yeah.
all pretty much agree, let's do that.
Let's read the update.
Okay. We all kind of agree he wouldn't be the asshole, but
Yeah.
you know there would be complications.
Yeah,
So,
and to be
the
mindful
general
of.
consensus was that I wouldn't be an asshole to ask my ex to pay me back as long as I asked nicely. But I was an idiot for lending her money and expecting that she would pay me back $4,000 at 3 weeks' notice. So I went ahead and called her and nicely asked if she could pay me back at the end of December, because I just want a clean break so we can all move on. She said she understood and she'll see what she can do. I later learned that she sold her car to her boyfriend, who let her continue using the car. In short, I got paid and she kept the car she sold to pay me. Great ending for everyone.
Hey,
Yay!
So she's a great person.
you know what?
But then,
I'm gonna say that was because of us, because of the advice we just gave.
Also,
Definitely.
apparently, I made a mistake. Like, not me, but Reddit. I mean, it says it was posted 4 months ago. 4 months ago was in January. This was posted in December 4th.
Okay,
So by the end of
that's
the
a
year
bit
was
wild.
1 month. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So, but then a
Then
few
he's
weeks
awesome.
later, here comes a good part. But then a few weeks later, she called me. She's saying she and her boyfriend went to my apartment and told me the craziest thing. She's pregnant. And with that, I have accepted the fact that I will never get the clean break I wanted. It's been 3 months since then. We did the paternity test and confirmed that I'm the father. She and her boyfriend are still together, and he's counseling as a sign of his commitment.
What?
The main reason she left.
What a twist! Oh my god.
Yeah, the main,
I was not expecting
Make a
that.
movie about it.
the main reason she left him before was that he had an alcohol problem that he couldn't control. So I was concerned that she was staying with him while. So basically, he's doing counseling to
Yeah.
battle that. So, okay, nice. He assured me that he's turned over a new leaf for her and he will stay with her throughout. She says that things are great between them and he's completely sober now. We all try to get along as best as we can for the baby. When I made that post, I never imagined this would be the update I would be writing. I never even thought that this would be how I have my first kid. But what's done is done, and at least we're on the same page about prioritizing the baby. Thanks for all the replies to my original post, and wish me.
Dude, this kind of shit.
That
not gonna
is a crazy ending to that story.
Wow. I was not
Imagine having-
expecting that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'd watch
Imagine
it.
having a baby with a girl who dumped you for her ex-boyfriend. Wow.
That's yeah.
Ooh.
That sounds like hell to me.
Yeah. And you can never be together. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
Poor
next
baby.
one. Am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend of 2 years to stop contacting my family? Do we go for this one?
Before we do, I just want to quickly say I am changing my buzzer sound since I've had complaints that my kazoo is absurdly loud.
No,
No, I'm
not
changing it. It is now. It is now
Don't
going to be
let the
this.
haters get to you.
It's going to be that. It's
I'm
going to be
not
keys
who
jangling.
complained?
No, that sucks.
You don't
Make
need to know
it
who
you.
complained. There, that's my buzzer. You may proceed.
What about
Thank you.
this or my buzzer?
These don't make great sounds.
What is that, Stanley?
A snake?
You don't have to know.
Oh,
Oh.
I don't want to know.
Uh,
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Snake, wink, wink.
It's a body spray.
Okay.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
actually a terrible
I
buzzer
thought it was
because
something completely
Discord
different.
detects the consistency in the sound and then blocks it out and silences it, so we can't actually hear it.
Oh.
So there you go. That's a good buzzer.
Jesus Christ.
No, that's unpleasant.
Now my mic's
Tornado.
nice.
You gave poor Annika a
Okay.
heart attack.
Okay.
I'll actually I'll read the next 3 titles and you tell me which one you
Oh,
like.
that's a great idea.
So first, am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend of 2 years to stop contacting my family? 2, am I the asshole for getting mad at my boyfriend for seasoning my cooking without my consent? And 3, am I the asshole for refusing to apologize to my future-in-law, to my future sister-in-law about removing her wedding party?
Let's do
So
this.
say
Two.
the last
Yeah,
one.
2.
I have some,
Second,
I have some strong opinions
I'm
about
already
cooking.
getting angry.
Now that I started cooking, I have some strong opinions about it.
Like I don't have strong opinions about it, but I have started cooking with a partner, and I get the vibe. Now let's see what's going
As a
on.
white man, I just want to learn about seasoning, to be honest. So
As
Okay,
a white
so
man.
for my partner, 30 years old male, and I, 24 years old female, cooking is not a together activity. Usually he's in charge of our meals, and he's the type of person who doesn't ask for advice or want your opinion on how to cook it. His meals are tasty and
Asshole.
generally fit my taste profile, so I'm okay with staying out of it. I think our skill level when it comes to cooking today we agreed I'd be in charge of. I'm in the middle of cooking when he comes to taste. I tell him don't yet because it's not fully seasoned. He goes in anyway, tells me the food is bland. Well, no wonder since I started throwing spices. So I tell him to just wait it out. Instead of doing so, without a word, he grabs spice from the cupboard I wasn't even planning on using and proceeds to dump a good amount of it into my food. At this point, I get so mad, I just leave the kitchen and tell him to finish it however he wants. After all, the food did turn out okay. I knew it would. I just wasn't in the mood for that particular spice. Plus, I think when I'm done when I'm the one cooking, I should deserve the same respect he gets. He thinks I'm overreacting as the food only got better due to him helping out. So Reddit, am I the asshole for getting mad at him?
No.
No.
No, I mean, I don't think anyone's
No.
the asshole in this situation. Like, I think what he did was, I just
No.
confused as to why he like chose to randomly get
Because
interfere in
men.
season. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Because
fair
men-
point. Okay,
exactly.
yeah,
Men have a
you got me
He
Men
there.
wasn't
He
an
knows
asshole. He
better.
was just a man.
He basically
Not an asshole, he was just a
mansplained
man.
in cooking.
no, it's
Yeah.
like,
He
I don't know.
literally mansplained in cooking.
I just don't understand why, like, what would bring this on? Like, why he would, like, go to the food
'Cause he
when it's
thinks
not
he's
seasoned,
better.
taste,
Look,
like, yeah, I guess. I mean, that's,
I think that there's a theory that sometimes men around women tend to have this patronizing confidence. That's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can do better. I can do anything better. Let me show you. It's like sometimes you don't really want to be shown things,
yeah.
or you don't
mean,
really
to be
need
fair,
someone to
men
do it
have
better.
that.
What was that, sorry?
Sorry.
Men have that around everyone, not just women. We're just competitive in
No,
general.
but this is mansplaining.
That's nothing to
He
do
literally
with.
said. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like,
No,
if it was a guy and another guy cooking, he would still
No.
have done it and
He
said, like,
wouldn't.
yeah, it's better.
I mean, he might
he
have,
would.
but, like, either way, it's just straight up rude, and, like,
I still
Yeah,
think
yeah, it is.
I don't
I still
understand.
think that if he was with his guy roommate, he wouldn't interfere with his guy roommate's cooking, but he would interfere to his girlfriend's thing.
Well, we can't know for sure. Maybe it's not a gendered thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just.
Yeah, no,
I'm just saying in general, most men would do it.
just saying that
Yeah.
we should generalize. Oh man, do you guys know the song?
Yeah, it's a bop.
No, but I want to hear it. Please
That's
send it.
okay, I will.
Okay.
So
Wait,
you send,
can I
so you
speak
hear
now?
it later. No, but okay.
Oh.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
All right, so
Okay. So he mansplained cooking. First
Mhm.
of all, he literally said the food is bland, and when she explained that it's bland for now, he literally put them anyway. He didn't respect her or
Yeah.
her cooking, and he thought he knew better than her at cooking, even though they were both. She said that they were both at the same level. Okay,
Yeah.
and okay, he
Um,
could have just simply asked. He could
Okay.
have just
Yeah,
said,
like that.
can I put some spices in, or can you put some of the food to the side so I can like they could have had like something that they worked on together, or like two parts of the same dish to like kind of put different spices in it.
Right. Well,
Not
for
all food can be
non-gendered,
divided.
that's true. For
But
a
this is my
non-gender,
buzzer, by the way.
well, I buzzed first. Buzzing sound is Can't you see while a person talks, so that I claim position after them? It's a scaring tactic for all the
Yeah,
others.
well, I'm behind
I'm
you.
terrified.
Perfect. I think that a non-gendered opinion is that it's not like sure it's not mansplaining or anything. It's just that one, he probably really likes cooking, so and in relationship it's kind of
That doesn't
easy to
mean-
overstep
Oh, yeah.
boundaries because well that's what you do all the time. You overstep each other's boundaries, whether that's bad or good.
I guess.
I think I
And
would be okay
he
with
like and he likes cooking, and it's his girlfriend, so they're overly familiar, obviously. And he did that, but he kind of forgot to consider her. So, you
Yeah.
know, that's a boundaries problem.
Yeah, I agree with
that.
everything
Like
you said there.
even if I don't know, I wouldn't be okay with it either way.
So,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just a rude thing to do. Like, why? Like, disrespectful. It's
It is
Yeah.
right.
well,
Even if you
let
have
me.
like boundary problems, you would at least respect your partner to like not shit on their work. If they were artists and he painted on her painting because he thought it would look better, we would have a completely different discussion than it was if it was
Yeah.
just cooking.
yeah,
Yeah, well,
And if
the
he
other
really
few
likes cooking, he would understand what it feels like to have his cooking changed or added or like altered in a different way than he would like plan it to do.
yeah. I mean, even
So
regardless
he
of
would
cooking,
understand.
like he doesn't need to even like cooking to understand that. He just needs to understand
Yeah.
that you should be
Be a
respectful
decent
of what
human
other
being.
people are doing and not interfere when it's not welcome.
I think that by the way the author describes him is like Usually he's in charge of our meals and he's the type of person who doesn't ask for advice or want your opinion on how he's cooking. So I think that he established boundaries that I will cook myself. I don't want your opinion. I don't want your help and I don't want your advice. And she's followed that. But he doesn't follow his own
Yeah.
gospel, let's say. And now why? I don't know, man. It's just a bad moment.
Well, hopefully
How do I
they
beat him up?
talked about
So
that.
yes,
'Cause,
he is an asshole at this point.
Like, he is the asshole. She, who is asking if she's the asshole,
No,
probably.
she isn't. Yeah.
I think that, but I don't think that there's a good person, bad person situation. Like, maybe.
No, not bad person, but asshole.
yeah, I don't think. I
perfect.
mean, I'm sure he's a decent person, but like that wasn't a nice decision.
Okay.
to make.
Can we go to the next three? Because those look really spicy.
Yeah, I think we'll end
Okay.
with this next one, by the way.
Yeah,
'Cause we're,
this is the
Okay.
last one.
yeah.
Okay. So, 1. Am I the asshole for not wearing a tampon in the bathtub? 2. Am I the asshole for telling my sister my cat is family, but her child isn't?
What?
Same.
And number 3? Do we even need to
Oh
hit
my
number
God.
3?
Wait. I wanna add 4. Am
Okay.
I the asshole for refusing to pay my roommate for appearing in my YouTube video? Stupid but funny,
Same.
had to say it. And then, something that's relevant. Am I the asshole for giving a cum girl money? Sim.
I think 2.
Camera.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Two,
two.
Definitely two.
Oh my
Like,
god.
I want to hear that
The
story.
cat one.
The cat one.
the cat one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This has the yikes award. This has the poop knife award. And this has the take my energy award. And this
Oh my
has the
goodness.
facepalm award. Let's go.
I'm literally this person. I don't care who like judges me. I'm literally this person.
Actually, the title isn't all, but yeah, do forgive me for my tone and any grammar mistakes because I'm really pissed right now, and I might need some rational opinion. I am single, living alone with 2 cats and some fishes. My younger sister is a 23-year-old single mother of a 2-year-old with some medical conditions that require some expensive treatment, until if their condition improves and they grow out of it. My sister is like a child herself, too spoiled and naive for this world. My parents enabled her going on her own ways, and she insisted on having the child despite being told the reason, and having the man dumped her over it, somehow believing that the baby could make him stay. She is now living with my parents, and my parents are providing for both. As for me, I moved out of the house years ago for my terrible relationship with my sister.
Bless you.
Bless you. I was the only one to scold her for her mistakes where nobody else would, and she always had her parents to back her up. Yeah, I'm always the asshole to them, and I don't regret leaving, though we still keep it. My sister came to me begging me for money, because my parents are now on a spot, and they have trouble providing for her child. They may need to switch to a cheaper but lesser effective alternative to treat them. I warned her that time that she shouldn't keep the child, but she insisted. It became like, I need to provide for myself and my pets too, especially since one of my cat has some health issues. I refused to give my sister any money, and she ended up bringing family onto the plate, saying how we should help each other in times like this. I told her that my cat is my family and her child isn't. I'm now rather regretting what I have said, but at the same time, half of me is telling me that she really deserved it. I'm not her parent. Edit. Alright, after a few hours of cooling down, I think I do need to feel some parts that aren't left out intentionally, though I would prefer to leave out details because of privacy. Yes, my parents did show favoritism towards my sister because she's quite a few years younger than me. She's the type who can be very sweet, needy, and clingy, so it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that the helicopter parenting was part of it. As for my sister herself, while I don't think she's a bad person, she never grew out of thinking everything is rainbows or unicorns. She used to have me taking blame of every trouble she stirred up, thanks to my parents who used it to just assume it was my fault, because I did not stop her from doing them. Responsibilities is something she never learned. I admit I do bear grudges against her, against my parents. However, she still comes to me every time she needs something, oblivious about my feelings. Just consumes that I have what she wants, only listen to what she wants. This is why we kept in contact even after that. She came to me when she got herself pregnant that time and wanted me to help her sort out a plan. My advice was simple: abort it. Mind you, I also warned her about him before she. I warned him. Sorry. I also warned her about him before, and she brushed me off. She wanted to go through it, even after the doctors warned her that there were risks to herself and her child. I knew it wouldn't have gone well, so I tried to talk her out of it. Guess what? It is a precious life, and I hope to bring her trashed egg back. My warnings fell on deaf ears again. And now, after everything played out just the way I told her it would, she had the nerve to beg for money. She is miserable. My parents are miserable, and here I am thinking I can never get rid of her and expect to clean up after her again, just like before. Because why? We're family. Fuck that. She's not my family, not her, not her parents, not her child. I know the poor child is innocent, but they wouldn't have suffered so if their mother hadn't made the wrong decision again and again.
Wow. Anyone want to buzz first on that one?
Can I?
Oh, hang on, I
Mm,
think Annika
Oh,
just did.
I don't know if someone else wants to go first. That's fine.
No, no, no,
Go
we've got to
first.
respect
Go
the
first.
rules of the buzzer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go with gentle Euroviso. I mean, I guess there are a few factors to take into consideration. For example, I think it's a she, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. I think if she can't afford to help her sister, then it's absolutely justified that she doesn't
Mm.
that she's not in a place to do so. But I think to argue that like her sister is not family, or that her niece is not family, but that her cat is, I think that's kind of a very mean statement. Like I
Mm.
really love and adore animals, but um, I just don't think you say stuff like that. And while I obviously agree that she showed care for her like cats as well, I think she shouldn't punish her niece because she doesn't like her sister. And I also believe that, um, like, her sister doesn't strike me as a person who seems to be intentionally bad. Like, she didn't ever do anything to intentionally harm someone. I guess it's more
Mm.
like a combination of being a bit oblivious and naive. So, like, if she is financially able to help her, like disregarding the statement made like about the cat being family and the niece not, I think she should definitely help.
Mm,
May I also
I
add to
think that
this?
who goes after that?
Is it
Daniel?
okay if I? Uh.
I think Sarah was
Oh.
Oh yeah, true. Okay,
No.
sorry, go for it.
Sarah, then
Oh.
Dan, then
Okay.
Ivy.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Mm,
guess.
So the first thing that I would like to say is, it's you have kind of a different point of view whether you're close with your actual siblings or not. For me, even though I'm close but not close with my siblings, I would get that statement. It was rude and it was mean to say that her niece is not family, but the cat is. But I get where she's coming from. To her, where she's living alone and she's living with her cat, she's not seeing her family or her niece that much, and she didn't even agree with like the niece coming to life with obvious like diseases and like I mean the merciful thing to do was to abort the baby in my opinion. But for her, she's not close to the family. She's not close to Denise. She doesn't have anything but a familial relationship with her, like a familial,
Mm.
um, like rope tying them together. That's
uh,
it. There's no feeling there. That's why I think her statement was rude but honest, which kind of makes it. It doesn't make her less of an asshole, but it makes her. It makes me understand why
Yeah,
she said that because
justifiable
her sister was
assholery.
using the fact. Yeah, so her sister was using the fact that like you have cats and you can feed them. Of course, you have like uh, the financial ability to help me support my child, but her sister should have been working on ways that she could support her child,
Mm.
not ask other people to do it because that's like giving other people your burden when you shouldn't have ever done that. Like you have the child, you chose
Yeah.
to have it.
Okay,
Hang on, may I
let's take
speak?
Wait, can I
let-
have one? Can I just like say one
Sure.
Oh yeah,
the
go for it.
last thing? She said she could barely afford. She could barely uh, financially support herself and her cats, with her cat also being ill. So I would say that she does not have to help financially.
I
If she
don't.
could, she should, but she does not have to at
She
all.
didn't say that. I don't think she said she was in a bad condition
Yeah.
herself. It's just that she
I
said
didn't.
her cat also has a problem and she wants to cover that
She
first.
said she said I already have to like
Provide
I,
for
I
myself.
remember here. Yeah, she
Yeah, but
already has to provide herself and her cats.
she didn't specifically
Then
So that
mention
kind
that she
of
was struggling though, which
I
uh
Yeah.
no, but like that's not, you don't have to struggle to
Okay.
yeah,
like kind of like
I guess.
First,
maintain.
But can I
first of
just
all,
oh, can I do you
And
is it
probably
alright
really
if I
expensive.
speak? Uh
Oh,
I
it's
want
Ivy, then Dan, I think.
oh
I
yeah,
wanted
okay,
to
sorry.
correct. I wanted to correct something, but I kind of forgot. Yeah, like I don't. Let's clarify that giving someone a burden means that I give you the child and you take care of it and I leave. The girl, the mother, the sister, the younger sister, she never gave someone a burden that
no,
she
but she's
wouldn't cover.
giving the
She's
she's
asking for
giving
help. She's asking for help.
the burden is not the child. The burden is the financial like
Which
support of the child.
which came up. Was it predicted? Yeah, because the doctor said it would be a problematic child, like health wise. But so what? That doesn't mean you don't have to help it when trouble comes.
Well,
Trouble will come, and your finances are not gonna
what
be
I
stable.
what I would say is that in this situation specifically, for the child's sake, I think it would be like if the option is available to the poster, then the right thing to do would be to offer support. But in another situation, like if the situation were different and it were the well, no, I mean I think. I feel like it's really hard to deny someone support,
You know,
especially if it's someone you're close with. But
yeah. You know what
I
I
feel
think?
like hang on a sec. I feel like it's there also needs to be like I think it goes deeper than just this single situation. Like I think the other sister should have learned to be responsible and to make responsible choices, and I think that fault
But
lies a lot with the parents who seem to not have enforced that
see,
kind of behavior in her growing up.
see, I've been reading the replies, and someone pointed out that you know what? It's not that the sister was irresponsible. She made a decision that was not inclined with what the bigger sister's advice was. That doesn't mean she didn't have a plan for it. She did have a plan and everything. She couldn't provide everything and she wanted help and stuff. But they just disagree. Like the fact that she's unable to provide this time due to some factors. Like I don't think it's. I don't know. Like
Did she have a plan? Because it sounded like the impression I
I
got from
don't.
the post was that she like it was kind of
She kind of had the child.
it wasn't like a decision
yeah,
that
I
she had
guess
given
yeah.
the what's the word I'm looking for, the not respect but like weight that
Okay,
it deserves, if that makes
I'll
sense.
take my
Yeah.
final stance on it.
Hmm.
I think the OP is an asshole, but they are right in like they have the right to complain, but they're not a great person that I like either.
Yeah,
So
I would
like
I think that's
I
fair.
don't think.
Like
I don't.
I think in
Hmm.
in a situation like this, the morally correct thing to do would be to help out, even if it's like but I think also
she has way too
the
many
sister.
grudges, man. It's like
Yeah.
get over it, sis.
Sarah, you were gonna say?
No, it's not about that. It's not about like holding a grudge over your sister because she
It
was favored. It's
is,
not about that at all. It's
but
about
she
being.
does.
No, she does. I'm not saying she doesn't, but it's obviously not just like um, uh, one experience with her sister and her being naive. From what the Reddit says, the Reddit post. What did
Mm.
they call it? Okay,
Yeah,
they
that's it.
from what the Reddit post says, it says that she was trying to have the baby to keep the man.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I'm
mean,
not gonna assume that the sister is different than the Reddit post because that's like against everything that's
yeah.
we're doing right now. So if the sister did have the baby, even though it was dangerous for his or her life, because she wanted to keep him on, then I don't really care if she needs financial
I
support.
don't.
I
She
think
should provide for the baby
well, I think
either way.
the sister like
Or
should
she
have
could,
sorry.
oh, sorry.
Okay, then talk.
Uh, thanks. I think the sister should have like it sounds like I get the impression at least that the sister does need to learn to be more responsible with her choices, but at the same time I don't think this is the right opportunity for that lesson to be taught, considering how serious the situation is and like the fact that like the child's life will also be impacted. I think
That's true.
it would be um it would be the best thing to do to offer that support if possible. And I mean, you can
That's
always like offer the support now and like or like offer money now maybe to help support it and maybe ask for it back like a while down the line if it's money you don't really need right now, you know? Like
I mean,
maybe, yeah.
honestly, I find it really I find it really hard to take her side, considering she's so hung up over her sister not having an abortion. It's like, oh, you wanted to
yeah,
see, you wanted to have the kid, now pay for it. And she
yeah, I
seems to
do
hate her.
yeah.
I don't think it's about the abortion.
I mean,
I
Well,
don't think it's
she
about.
I
did.
do agree with Ivy on that point though. Like, it's
She did say it a lot.
that's a huge decision to make, and like, it's
It
understandable
is.
that you, like you couldn't. I don't understand how you can just say to someone, you know,
Like,
you should just have an abortion. Like, it's not that straightforward. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
or you can't
I
hate
mean,
them
if the
for
child
not
is sick,
doing it. And
I
she
would
hates,
I would say that, to be
and
honest.
she, well,
It's not
yeah,
worth it
sure.
to like bring a child who will just suffer, you know?
Why? Why? Like, if you
Because
want to have it,
they'll just
have it.
suffer. Why bring a child to life for them to just suffer on and on and on with a disease or with whatever they have? I don't think it's
I
fair.
mean,
I think if I could,
if you wanna, if you wanna have it, you have it. Like,
if you
that's
want to have it,
going
have it.
into.
I'm just saying my personal opinion is I wouldn't. I would
Well,
say maybe you should abort it. I wouldn't tell her to. I wouldn't demand it. But at the same time, I wouldn't demand help from my sister just to save my child.
I don't,
It's not something I can demand.
I don't
It's
think
not.
that
She
looking
doesn't
into,
have to help me.
I don't think that looking into children who have medical problems or autism or whatever sort of condition, it's like they shouldn't be brought to life. Like, that's
Um, but like
not
that's
cool.
even in religion, you can abort a child if it's a risk to itself or to you.
Well,
You know.
good for religion. I'm not inclined with that. Like, that's not a credible source. It's like, oh, but
I
religion
don't
says,
think.
ah.
Yeah, I know, but I know it's not a credible source. I'm just bringing up a fact. Also, I think it's fair. I think maybe you don't agree with it. I think you think the fetus is a life, but I don't think that.
I
I
mean,
think
No,
it's not
sorry.
I
fair.
think it's a
No, I didn't
justifiable
say.
decision. I just think I disagree with it. Like,
It
I
is her.
didn't.
It is her decision completely.
Uh,
I'm just saying I wouldn't choose it if I was in her place. That's it.
good,
That's
but
all I'm saying.
I'm not getting any pro-life arguments over here that oh fetus are alive. But I'm
I
just
don't know.
saying.
I didn't mean that. I'm just saying that
Good.
because of what that it's a lot. Yeah, you know, it doesn't matter because the child is alive anyway. So if she
But
could help,
I'm just.
she can, but she doesn't have to. It's not a demand. You don't
Yeah,
have to help.
I'm just saying that it's not really nice, not nice, but I don't think it's a great point to be like, oh, if the child was healthy, I would have it. But since it's not, I'm not gonna. Like, yeah, that's a
There's an
very
amount of healthy that you can you can like.
well.
There's
yeah, like
there's there's there are cases where the child you know full on that they will not have this thing where they suffer with. No, they will their whole life will be suffering, you know.
I think
It's
I
not like
think we
being
should
born without an
probably
arm.
move off of this topic because this is getting quite deep and maybe like if you
Okay,
want to talk about
well,
this we can save it for another
my
podcast. But
okay,
it's
my
yeah.
point.
Oof, yeah.
My point is that since okay, if we were talking about a fetus in a woman, we
Well,
would have another
let's
discussion.
not talk
But
about abortion. Let's focus on
no,
the
we're not. No, we're not talking about abortion. My point is that
okay.
the child is now a child. It's a living
That's true.
person. It has its actual and
But still,
it's
she
a
has
separate.
no relationship to it.
It's getting close to the abortion discussion.
But she had no. I mean, the girl who's been being asked for help, she doesn't have any relationship to the child, so she doesn't have to pay for it. Even
Yeah,
if
but
she had a
still, I
relationship with
think
her sister, I think it's nice to do, but I don't
She
think it's a must. It's like she has to help her sister,
Yeah,
you
I
it
know?
agree.
isn't
Like it doesn't like
Even especially since she feels so negatively about her. Like
it's
you
not
don't
an
have to help someone you don't
obligation.
like.
It's
yeah
not an obligation, but she's
Yeah.
so in grudge with everybody, and I feel like she's coming off as an asshole, even though like yeah, it's nobody like there's no law
She
that
is an
tells you.
asshole.
Yeah, there's
She's
no law
definitely
that
an asshole here.
yeah, there's no law that tells you oh you have to pay for all your relatives, but it's like it's clearly personal when it shouldn't be. You could
Yeah.
have refused to pay her on all the other stupid things, but do not leave her when her child needs it and nobody
yeah
else can
Yeah,
help her.
I
I
agree.
agree. Guys, remember the thing that I told you guys about raising money for the man who was in jail for killing a woman, where they raised
Yeah,
like
yeah. What about it?
yeah, it was the same thing where they expected every relative to pay, to help to raise the money
Yeah,
and to pay an amount. So it's kind of like the same thing. So you don't have to like, it's not the same thing because this is a child we're trying to save and that was a murder, but it's kind of the same thing where you expect relatives to pay money so
yeah.
you can like achieve a goal, kind of achieve a goal. But like,
Anyway,
yeah,
oh yeah. Well, I think we've anyone have anything else to add to this, or should we wrap
Simon
this one up?
wanted to talk, I think.
I
Second.
actually have another MIVSO thread that I would really like to hear your opinion on because I think it was in like on the front page. I don't know if
Mm.
that's what it's called. Uh, like a while ago, and I absolutely disagreed with the general consensus
Oh
there.
yeah.
So I'd really
Okay.
love to hear your opinion if that's alright.
Of
Of
course. Go
course.
for it.
Am I VSO for contesting a will and likely getting all of the inheritance instead of my dad's girlfriend? My dad ran off with my mom's friend when I was 12. My mom and my dad never got legally divorced. My mom passed away a few years ago and my dad passed away late last year. Am I VSO for contesting the will even though he left everything he owned to his girlfriend? They share two young kids I don't have a relationship with. Where I live, since my parents weren't divorced, I'm the sole legal heir to my parents' estates. I already got a good chunk from my mum, and I'm also a medical professional, so it's not like I'm hurting for money. And my wife also works at a good job. But the way I see it, it's not my fault. My dad never made things official with his girlfriend, and she can figure out her own finances. Added, adding this for more context, my dad's estate is mostly made up of the proceeds from the sale of his business and business he created with my mother. My mother was also always upset that the business was taken from her and wanted me to have it. So
Mm.
here is that he's not the SO. So yeah,
The consensus is that he's not. You said.
yeah, and like I think
So
he actually is a bit at least. So
Well, why do you think he is?
well, um, I guess in my opinion, the dad like I mean, I absolutely agree that it's like not a great thing to do to just um like run off with another woman and leave your like son and wife. But like on the other hand, like he like made this like testament and he like yeah left his money for the
Mm.
girlfriend which he like spent the majority of his life with.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that like the son shouldn't have anything at all. But I think just I feel like it's a very spiteful reaction, um,
yeah.
like because on the one hand, I can understand that he's angry at his father for leaving him in a situation like that, but like especially last sentence where he said that like the girlfriend um like like see how to fend for herself. I think that's kind of egoistic because um he is well off. He doesn't need to worry
Mm.
about money and everything. So if the dad like legally um like wanted his yeah new partner to um like have his like what he left behind, I think he kind of should respect that.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I
Can
think
I make a? Can I ask
mm,
what happened? Like, so the dad ran off with his woman. He died. He left her the money. What did the son do that we're questioning if he's the asshole or not?
He's
The
contesting the
son
will.
basically, yeah, and like he got all the money instead of the dad's new partner, so she's now left to fend for herself.
Wait, he got the money? How? Isn't that illegal?
I don't know, like that's what he said. Like he contested the claim, and I guess since he's like his only legal son,
He's an asshole. Like, no, you
Yeah.
don't do that.
yeah,
No. You're
That's incredibly entitled, I think. Like, it sounds like he did he like, does it mention in the post like the kind of relationship he had with his father while he was alive, if they had any at
uh,
all?
it reads as if he doesn't like him, but that's just from like subtext,
Oh, it's a
Yeah,
boy.
like from context.
I
Yeah.
see.
like,
I get why
bro,
he's doing it.
I don't like. No, your dad chose to leave you for to leave his
Your dad
family
chose
for
to
this
leave
other
you?
woman. He left his
I
family
get
for
what he's
this other
doing.
woman, and he spent his life with her, and well, he left his money to her. You, as a kid, cannot step in and claim anything.
Yeah.
You cannot undo your parents' mistakes, because certainly all the money that you take from him does not account for having a parent present or having his love or whatever. You're not fixing anything.
Yeah,
So why do you want that money to spite the other woman?
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
She,
it sounds like it. That actually makes me quite annoyed. Like, it sounds like, as it says in the post, he received his mother's like a lot of inheritance from his mother, no, and
and
his
he's also like
and
a medical
yeah, yeah,
professional,
yeah.
so he's very well
So
off.
he's got a good salary. So there's no reason for him to. I mean, I think that just sounds incredibly unfair. Like, uh, to have so much already and to think, uh, you know, I can uh, I can take more from this other person who presumably would what's the word I'm looking for, or what's the turn of phrase I'm looking for? Um, I don't want to say needs it more than he does, but like certainly it would be, I assume, better off in her hands than his, considering he already has all he needs. Um, like, it just seems like immoral to try to take that away.
yeah, it
Yeah,
seems spiteful, man.
Yeah.
like all the comments were like, "Oh, she deserves it for like betray." Like the woman, like his new partner was like the mom's one of the mom's friends.
Yeah.
So all the comments were like, "Oh, she deserves it for like running off with your father, and it's right for you to like do that because he left you." And like I kind of get that he doesn't have the best relationship with his father, but
And like I hate how
yeah,
righteous he is. Like, who are you to
yeah,
like
Yeah.
judge, to punish a woman like that woman for, like, is it right? No, it's not. But you are not
yeah.
the judge
I
of that. You're not
Yeah.
going to
Like,
punish people for it,
it's a bad
right?
like it's an immoral decision that they both made, I think, to like to get together in the first place or whatever, and run away from his family. But you know,
Yeah,
this guy
it's
making the
chose
post
what
is
he
not,
chose.
yeah, but and this guy like
Yeah.
making the post isn't like the arbiter of justice who can,
Yeah,
like, you know, make everything
I
right
think
by
Oh,
taking away money that he left to her, you know?
I
Like,
think what's
he left it to her.
making
I think you have.
Okay.
Can
Sorry?
I
Yeah, go for it.
can I talk? Okay. I think
mm,
he has a right to the money. He is a child of the father. He should
I
have
don't
some of
I
it,
don't see
not all of
why
it.
children should be entitled to what their parents had in the first place.
Cause like, I don't know.
I think
Like,
at
I
the
mean,
end of the day, matters.
as someone
wait,
who
wait,
grew
we're
up.
not done.
he
Okay,
did
sorry.
Can I
get a
just say?
part of the money.
I
Sorry,
think
Sarah.
what
Wait,
matters
Sarah, I
Part of
want
the
to say
money,
is
not
something
all
the
of
first.
it.
will.
What did Sarah
Oh,
say?
I think
Buzzing,
yeah, the
guys,
will,
buzzing.
but he's kind of like
uh
riding over it. It's kind of like I
I
forgot the word.
Contesting.
Yes,
I
thanks.
I I,
Okay,
I think
I
that
I just want to say something. Just
mhm,
one thing. It's kind of unfair that like he ran off with his girlfriend to
mm,
like. I get why he's doing it. I get why he feels angry because his father had like a whole life without him and he didn't even think to look twice. I get that.
yeah, yeah,
You have the right to be angry. I'm not even gonna act like he shouldn't seek vengeance on like the woman who took him away from everything and took his mother's like business and so many things. And his mother probably fed him, the
Mm.
vengeance thing, the whole I hate
Uh,
them. Um,
yeah,
but I think he's an asshole. He is the asshole here, but he has a right to be one. That's
Ivy?
that's my opinion.
I feel like children do have a right to their parents' resources when they're alive. I think making me feel like he's an asshole and he shouldn't do that is that the man is dead, and it's really frustrating when he intended to give this money to this woman, whether he was smart for it or not. Like he's
Mm.
an asshole for doing it, but he did it probably because he spent his life with her.
Yeah.
He thinks she needs it. His son is fine. He doesn't care for him, I guess. Like whoopity boop. Like it is what it is. You can't mess up with a dead person's will in the expense of another innocent person.
Yeah.
Quote unquote innocent.
Like it was. I don't understand the. I feel like the poster comes across as quite entitled because
Yeah.
as someone who is not going to get anything from inheritance when my family bites the dust, so to speak. Sorry to speak about it that way, mum. But like, I think, if he made the choice, if he had like, as the child of that person, you didn't work to earn anything that he earned in his life. You know what I mean? So why should you suddenly be entitled to what he got just because he's your parent? It doesn't make any sense to me. If he made the choice to give it to someone else or to give it, like even if he made a different choice or whatever to give it to charities or to just burn it all, then I still don't think you should be entitled to it, considering you had no part in
That's so sad.
getting it in the first place. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to
It's
anyone?
so sad.
I
Mhm.
Yeah,
actually
but
do
like it's.
think.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Continue.
okay. No, no, you go first, please.
No, you. It's okay.
Oh,
It's completely okay.
really, you can go first.
Okay. I think he. I don't know. I think it's kind of shitty that you don't leave money for your children. I mean, you
It
brought
is.
them to this world. You
Well,
chose to
yeah,
bring them
but
to this
you
world.
know,
You kind of owe it to them to leave something to them in
yeah,
a
I
way.
guess that
I
makes sense from that perspective.
So that's why you feel kind of entitled because like he's your father. He should even in his death he didn't even like leave you anything. Sad.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it like that. I suppose.
I actually do agree that like children should have some part of like what their parents leave them. Um, like not everything. Since I guess they like especially since I think the parents should still like have a free decision about who they want to leave what to, but like depending on whether or not the parents die when the child is still fairly young and isn't able to actually fend for themselves, I think like at least here as far as I know we're entitled to like around 25%, but it depends. Um, so I guess I'm in support of that, but like what I don't agree with is that he wanted everything for himself and like didn't actually respect that. And I hope I'm not talking for too long. I
No, no,
actually
no, not at
saw
all.
like okay, I
No.
actually saw like a very similar post a while ago, but I think that was deleted. Like where the like family also split up. The father had a new wife, new children, and like one of his like children got terminally ill, and like they asked the like child like child from his first marriage to like give some money so they could like pay for the medical costs, and like they refused because they hate that the father ran off and that
That's
they
really
hate the
cruel.
children, and I don't know, and just thought it was so egoistic because
mm,
why make the child pay for something like that
Yeah,
they don't have any
yeah.
influence over?
that's disgusting.
I I
It's
think
kind of
that
sad.
yeah. In this case, I think what will be okay was if the guy decided about to discuss with the woman whether or not he should have some of it because it was his father, and no. But instead he just went on, and as Dan said, he was entitled and he took everything. It's like, you don't do that, bro. Sit
Yeah,
down. You're a grown
Yeah.
man.
I guess if like you said, they had discussed it and possibly come to a compromise that might have been better. But I still,
Yeah.
I think, you know, at the end of the day, he's got what he needs from, you know, what he's gone through in life so far. It's not like this inheritance is going, like, not getting it is going to ruin his life. He's
Exactly.
perfectly fine subsisting off his own earnings or whatever. So I don't see any reason to not respect the father's wishes, really. But oh well.
Mm.
Anyway,
You know, that
yeah.
brings back the past Reddit. She could have like filed a suit against the father of the baby and could have gotten some money to help the child.
Yeah. The legality of these things just, you know, goes a little
Anyway,
here and there.
I think
This
we'll
was
end the
rough.
podcast there.
Yeah.
But
This is really long.
yeah. But hey, thank you
And
everyone
really
for
good.
joining.
Lots of fun.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
think it was
Hopefully
a
we'll be
better-
able to have another one of these soon.
It
Yeah.
was really
Yeah.
cool. I loved it.
It was fun. I
Me
loved
too.
it. I love.
Okay.
Oh, Ivy's voice is my favorite part.
Oh, thank you. I was. It was great hearing Sarah and Annika for the first. Like, I love you guys too.
Hey, thanks.
All right. And on that
Love you
note,
too.
Glad everyone enjoyed it.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye and good night, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye. See you, Dongcast out.
Bye bye.